everybody. Welcome into the Mike Missanelli Show. No Mikey missed today. He's out sick. Wishing him well. Hopefully he feels better. But you got Bill Colarulo, and then sliding into the studio today, the one and only Raymond Dunn going to join me as the co-host. What's up, Ray?
Hey, how are you?
I'm surprised you're here today, man. I know you had a big day yesterday watching NCAA basketball after the show into the wee hours of the night.
Nothing that 25 beers can't do to me that I can't perform the next day here on the air.
Well, you sound good. Let's hope you can make it all 4 hours because we got a fun show. Sean Rodman behind the glass. We'll do a little NCAA tournament talk a little bit later in the show. We're still going to give people an opportunity, what Mike was doing, where if you call, we're going to pick a name out of a hat for you. So you still have an opportunity to get an NCAA team, and if they go to the Final Four, you will win a gift card to a restaurant. So if you call in, Ray will pick out a name for you. We're going to keep that going. But before we get into the NCAA and before we even talk some Eagles later on, I want to talk about the Fightin' Phils. And not only because Ray Dunn is rocking an awesome Philadelphia Phillies jacket today. He's got the powder blue, the throwback maroon. He's got the World Series 1980 patch on his right arm. That is a fire jacket, Ray. But yeah, mainly because, dude, we're less than a week away.
Finally.
From opening day. It'll be down in Washington, D.C. against the Nationals. But a question that Ray posed to me last night, and I think this is a good one. As we look at this Philadelphia Phillies team, now this core of players that haven't been able to get over the hump yet, as we look at the team and the organization as a whole, which Philly in the organization, so it's not just players, is facing a make or break season? And it's interesting because I say not just players. You could start at the top. I mean, you could start with Dave Dombrowski. We've heard Mike Missanelli on the show yesterday talking about how he thinks Dave Dombrowski kind of failed and what his offseason plan should have been. They didn't add a bat into the outfield that was a right-handed bat. They haven't really done much, according to Mike, to upgrade the bullpen. I'm excited about the bullpen. I think Romano's going to end up being a great addition. I'm excited for Alvarado. But let me throw the question to you first, Ray. Who in the Phillies organization, top to bottom, general manager, all the players, who do you think's facing a biggest make or break season this year?
The group formerly known as the daycare, you could pick any one of them out and probably narrow this down as the make or break season. But to me, it's got to be Alec Boehm. I mean, this was a guy who was on the outs, it felt like, early on in this offseason. It didn't seem like anything ended up materializing for them. They believe they have a prospect down in the minor leagues that's going to come up and be a big-time hitter that potentially you could move off of Boehm. And would he be a third baseman? Would he be a shortstop? Then you got to figure out the rest of the infield. But ultimately, to me, you need a consistent right-handed bat in this lineup. Trea Turner's already got his money. He's already entrenched in the Phillies' plans for the long term. Nick Castellanos is what he is at this point. Alec Boehm kind of has to show you that it wasn't just a fun, hot first half for him last year, and that this is something sustainable, that he is a difference maker at third base, and that he can be that guy in your lineup, especially with the way they're breaking out this lineup. If you're going to be the guy hitting in between Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber in this lineup, you need to be productive day in, day out, and you can't let yourself be just broken down mentally by a bad stretch of games. Unfortunately, that's the way this goes in Major League Baseball. You can't let the slump take over your life. You have to take one day at a time, come back to the ballpark, and let yesterday be yesterday. And to see him get benched in a postseason scenario last year was baffling for a guy that was an all-star. Like, you just can't have that happen. You can't have that type of kind of just mental attitude going into a postseason series. And I think that, for me, coming into this season, you got to find out whether or not he is a part of your plans for the long term, whether or not he is someone that is going to be here long term at third base. I think for him it's a make or break 2025 because it felt like the end of 2024 might have broke his entire time with the Phillies.
Yeah, it's a great answer, but it's crazy that he is the answer, and I don't disagree with you, but you're talking about a guy who, made an all-star game last year, had 97 RBIs 2 years in a row, but it's mainly because of his attitude. Like, when you have that, when you talk about producing, the guy batted .280 last year. He had 97 RBIs. At one point, he was leading Major League Baseball in doubles. I don't know how he finished the season, but he had 44 doubles last year. For that to be a guy that you're saying is a make or break, and I agree with you, coming off of an all-star season, it just goes to show how bad the attitude did get, that he's getting benched in the postseason. But let me ask you, when you say make or break, if he's going to be batting in the 3-hole, which is where I think you and I both want him, right? You want Turner leading off, Harper batting second, then Alec Boehm at 3 with Schwarber as your cleanup. If that is, in fact, the case, do you need Alec Boehm to hit more than 15 home runs? Because that's what he had last year.
I'm kind of done with trying to project him out to hit 20, 25. Oh, this is the year he has the power outbreak. Unfortunately, he is what he is. You would love to have more power coming out of that corner infield position, especially over there at third base. But if he puts up the numbers that he did first half of last season that made him an all-star, I'm not going to be particularly upset. Now, that probably puts him on pace for like 17, 18 home runs. But my issue with him was much more the fact that you look at a 681 OPS in the second half of the season, the last 50 games of the season, he just did not produce it anywhere near the level that he did the first half of the season. Whether he took a little bit of a step back at that time, you would have been okay with it. But it was a total step back. You could see that it weighed on him every single day. He couldn't get himself out of it to the point where they didn't think it was productive to have him in the lineup in the postseason. You can't have that. You certainly can't have it of a guy that's going to be hitting third in between Harper and Schwarber in a lineup where you desperately need a right-handed bat that can break the two of those guys up.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with it, right? It really is. It's hard to argue with it. And then you look at his contract, too. He's eligible for arbitration again at the end of this season, but then they'll have to make a decision. So when we talk about make or break, if he has a good season, maybe they're extending him for a long period of time as well. Now, you mentioned you could take anybody from the daycare. You went with Alec Boehm.
Yeah.
I would put Alec Boehm up there on my list as well, but I'm going to take somebody else from the daycare, and that's Bryson Stott. Because Bryson Stott, all I heard 2 years ago was this is a guy who could be a 300 hitter in Major League Baseball. Not only last season did he take a step back and he only bats 245, they started to platoon him against left-handed pitching. So for me, when I look at this lineup, and you're right, Alec Boehm's going to be up near the top. Alec Boehm is the right-handed bat. But Bryson Stott can really be the X factor, in my opinion, on this Phillies team. Because if Bryson Stott comes out and he shows that he truly is that 300 hitter, like could you imagine if Bryson Stott this season bats over 300, first of all, that gives you some flexibility too. Like we're talking about Trea Turner at the top of the lineup, and I hope he succeeds there. If Bryson Stott turns into the hitter that a lot of people are predicting he would be, he could be your leadoff hitter. There's a chance where he could move into that leadoff spot. Now, it would change a lot of things because you don't want to go lefty-lefty with Harper batting second there. But if Bryson Stott can truly bat close to 300 or even over 300, I think he's the X factor in this lineup. So for me, he is the make or break guy. But you talk about the daycare, you could also throw Brandon Marsh in there, similar reasons to Bryson Stott, that he's got to learn how to hit left-handed pitching.
And what's crazy to me, because I feel like the Stott, like you go down the leadoff conversation, that's like 10 steps down the line for me. Stott, and you mentioned the platooning, Stott gets a pass of like, oh yeah, this guy can play every day. Where a season ago, he did not show you that. That was quite the contrary. It was a conversation we had all last summer that I was baffled by the fact that, yeah, against lefties, Stott will be out there, but Marsh wouldn't. Both of them, if you're going to let Stott hit lefties, you might as well let Marsh hit lefties because both of them were struggling to figure them out. And both of them need to do that this season. One of them needs to show you that they're a consistent everyday player. The one thing that you do get out of Stott is defensively, he is a tremendous second baseman.
He is.
And you want to see it work out. I don't even need him to hit 300. Honestly, if Stott is close to his 2023 form, and that's kind of where he maxes out, he's not the one in the lineup that I'm anticipating the most of anyone to really drive what they do offensively. If he's close to 2023 form with defense we've seen at second base, I'm okay with that. It just can't be as dire as it was at times a year ago.
Yeah, it's a good conversation, Ray. And we want to hear from you out there, 610-632-0975. With us less than a week away from Major League Baseball, Philadelphia Phillies opening day. Who do you think faces a make or break season? Ray says Alec Boehm. I say Bryson Stott. But there are certainly a few others, not only players. We're going to talk about the manager. We're going to talk about the general manager coming up. But maybe something that'll make you feel good. MajorLeagueBaseball.com, MLB.com, made $9 bold predictions. One of their predictions, I think it's going to make a lot of Phillies fans smile. We'll get into that coming up. This is the Mike Missanelli Show. You got Bill Colarulo, Ray Dunn, Sean Rodman behind the glass. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Tyrone Johnson.
We can't be so...
Happy Friday, everybody. Little windy out there. Doesn't feel like baseball season, but believe it or not, we are less than a week away from the Fightin' Phils playing some meaningful games.
8 days. 8 days, Bill. I'll be down in D.C. I can't wait.
Well, 8 days you'll be down in D.C., but the first pitch will be 6 days away, right?
Oh, I know. Yeah, listen, I
Start
got
on Thursday.
responsibilities next Thursday, all right? Next Saturday, I'm off.
Start on Thursday. Who will be on the mound on Saturday when you're there?
I think it's going to be Luzardo.
They'll probably, obviously, Wheeler will get to start.
Yeah, Luzardo.
Then Sanchez.
No, I think it's going to be Luzardo's, too. Because Luzardo in spring training has been the one between Nola and Wheeler.
Oh, wait, there's a day off, isn't there?
Yeah.
I always hate that they do that. I always, why do they do that? It's
Just
like
in
every
case
year.
it rains, you need Friday.
I
Or
hate
in case there's a chance of rain, they decide to cancel it inexplicably.
I hate that. But what we're talking about today, since the Phils are less than a week away, is which Philadelphia Philly. Doesn't only have to be a player. You could be talking about the GM. You could be talking about the manager, Rob Thompson. But which Philadelphia Philly faces a make-or-break season this year? Now, Ray went with Alec Boehm. Tough to argue with that one, especially with the way Alec Boehm's attitude has been when he struggles. The fact that he had to get benched for Edmundo Sosa in the postseason last year against the Mets. I went with Bryson Stott because I thought this guy was going to be a 300 hitter. I still think he has that potential, but definitely took a step back last year in many areas when it came to the plate. Still a great fielder, as Ray pointed out. But I'm going with Bryson Stott. But there's plenty of answers out there. We want to hear from you at 610-632-0975. But I was reading something last night on MLB.com that put a smile on my face, Ray.
Oh, that's nice.
So Anthony Castrovince, who we've talked about before, who's a writer for MLB.com, he made 9 bold but feasible predictions for this coming MLB season.
Christopher Sanchez Cy Young?
No, even better.
Brandon Marsh MVP?
That would be bold and not feasible.
Johan Rojas hitting 400?
Come on now. Now you're getting silly. So one of the bold predictions, and this one put a little smile on my face, but not as big as the next one I'll read, but this one is both New York teams will miss the playoffs.
Oh, I love that.
So when he talked about the New York Mets, he says, I don't see that low of a floor for the Mets, but if the Phillies and Braves have healthy years, I would take their pitching staffs over that of the Mets. And as for the wild card spots, the NL is simply stacked and could be unforgiving to a Mets club that obviously upgraded its lineup a huge deal, but has an iffy pitching picture. Could you imagine if the Mets missed the playoffs after giving Juan Soto all that money? Would that not? That in of itself may make it a successful season.
I know a cigar store down in Old City. We'll go get a couple of cigars and smoke them. That'll be fantastic.
Well, if his 9th bold prediction comes true, we're definitely smoking cigars. Because
Champagne?
the 9th bold prediction on MLB.com, I'm going to say this one real loud for people to hear. The Phillies will win the World Series. And his reasoning, I'm old enough to remember when the Phillies were the best team in baseball at last year's All-Star break. They had fallen in the 2022 World Series, getting overconfident and overzealous in the batter's box in the 2023 NLCS, and they learned the hard lesson it would take to reach their rightful destination as champions. Goes on to say, now this goes one of two ways. Either the Phillies regroup and finish the job with this elite core, or they rapidly show their age and go off of a cliff. But, Ray, everything that I read on a national level is like this. Like, I know we are laser and hyper-focused on the Philadelphia Phillies and looking at all the deficiencies that they have. But on a national level, it seems that most of the people who cover Major League Baseball have the Phillies in the top 5 in the power rankings, are predicting them to make some noise in the postseason. And here's another guy now predicting that the Phillies will win the whole damn thing.
Yeah, this goes one of two ways. You could put a lot of headlines to this team that I feel like you could put back in 2011. Like this old core's got one more run in them, or this old core is going to fall apart and waste a great pitching staff. Like that's pretty much where this group is at right now. Nationally, of course, before the season, I think people would love to call their shot with this team because you see the talent that's there. It's a lot of known commodities. It's a lot of known brands, and you want to say that starting pitching wins in this league, and it should. It should over 162 put you in a good position to get to the postseason, and if the bats get hot, you're in a great spot. I feel like we're going to know. I don't want to say we're going to know early because we've seen both examples of not knowing early with this team. But I think we're going to know by the way that teams pitch the Phillies this season whether or not they've truly adjusted. Because that was the biggest thing. We talked about, yesterday, we got the hot start conversation. To me, it wasn't so much about how they were playing early, it was about how they were pitched early. And once teams stopped throwing them fastballs and started throwing them more crap outside the zone.
Yeah, they couldn't stop chasing.
Right. And if they couldn't figure that out in season, all right, you got the entire offseason to figure this out. If the entire league says, all right, we got last year's game plan, let's run it back against them, and there's no adjustment to it, we'll know that this team's kind of just aged out of what they can do. And that's unfortunate to say. But I think we're going to know by the way they're pitched and the way they react to the way that they're pitched this season more than anything else. And that's the anxious part of me coming out here. I mean, I realize we're to the end of this window and we're in a World Series or bust type season, but they have the talent to do it. It's just a matter if they can turn that on in October the way they've been able to at times.
Now, you just said something, a World Series or bust type season. I think it has to be World Series or bust, right? I mean, when you
for sure.
When you get to the postseason 3 years in a row and you take a step back in the postseason all 3 years, going to the World Series, then only going to the NLCS, then only going to the NLDS, and your core's not getting any younger, yeah, I think it has to be World Series or bust. Now, when we say World Series or bust, that leads us to the question we started the show. Well, then which Phillies are facing the make or break season? Because if they don't get over that hump, who would we look at and say, okay, they need to go? Now, it brings me to the manager, Rob Thompson. And we've had this conversation before, and sometimes maybe I'm a little bit too critical of Rob Thompson. But if they don't get over the hump this season, do you think Rob Thompson's back next year? If they do, let's say they make it to the postseason and they lose again in either the wild card or the NLDS. They don't make it to the NLCS. Would you say Rob Thompson's on his way out next year, or do you think he's safe?
They didn't give him a ringing endorsement by just giving the 1-year extension. He's not going to do this forever. I would lean to saying he's back, but it's not a heavy lean there. It's not a heavy lean. Because ultimately, I think you're shaking up the core if this doesn't go the way you want this year. And if you're doing that, are you bringing back the same leader?
Are you bringing back the same architect? And Dave Dombrowski.
Now you've stepped too far.
Look, Dombrowski, his resume speaks for himself. I mean, he's won 2 World Series with 2 different organizations. I think he's been to 4 World Series with 4 different organizations. So it's hard to say that he doesn't know what he's doing. But let's take a look, because when we get back on the other side, I want to talk about this right-handed bat situation, and we'll get to your calls as well with regard to who's facing a make-or-break season with the Philadelphia Phillies this year. 610-632-0975. We'll continue this conversation on the other side.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Free agency has quieted down. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. Free agency may have quieted down, but the NFL draft is right around the corner. The Eagles currently have 8 draft picks this year. ESPN's Tim McManus joined the best show ever yesterday, and he believes the Eagles may not stay at 32.
They'll look to move up a few spots if they see that a quarterback is, a team wants to come in at 32, they can move back. So as we know with Roseman, options are on the table. He is not averse to trading. He's about as active GM when it comes to that.
We still have a month until the NFL draft. The first round begins on April 24th. Opening day for the Phillies, though, is less than a week away. The Phillies will head to D.C. to start the season to take on the Nationals next Thursday, and the Sixers are back in action in San Antonio tonight. It will be the team's 4th of 6 games on a road trip this week and a half here, and you can listen to the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Pre-game coverage begins at 7:50. I'm Sean Rodman, and this update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Did he cares to hold me?
Little after 10:30 on this happy Friday, March Madness. I'm sure a lot of people stayed up late last night. There were some good games. Probably the best game of the day, though, was Arkansas, Kansas. What do you think, Ray? Probably the best game of the day.
Yeah, Calamari with the big win.
Calamad with the big win. Now he gets to take on another Paisan and Rick Pitino.
Which was so funny to see people react early to that St. John's team. Everyone, they might lose. Have you watched a single St. John's game this season? They've done this a million times. They have a little rough stretch, and then they remember that they can play defense, and then all of a sudden they go on a ridiculous run. They won that game by, 30 points?
Yeah, it wasn't close.
Yeah. Skip Bayless was tweeting, oh, my Final Four picks in jeopardy. And I saw people on my timeline. That was the one that stuck out because I was like, that's a sports guy that should know better. Then again, I don't expect that much from him. I saw people on my time, St. John's in trouble.
Yeah, they
this
won
is
by
March.
30.
Yeah.
They won by 30, literally.
Yes. Okay.
Well, we'll do some more NCAA talk later on in the show because we got our prognosticator joining us again at 12:30. Got to give him credit. He was all over Michigan. Even though all the money was coming in on UC San Diego, he told us they're wrong, and he was right. So I'm very curious to hear what pick he has for us today. But we started the show talking about our Fightin' Phils because we are less than a week away. You know, there hasn't been that much buzz. We've talked about this before, mainly because you had the Eagles go to the Super Bowl. I think a lot of Phillies fans were frustrated with the way last season ended, understandably so. But they're still a very good baseball team. And Mike and I have gone at this a couple of times where he's nervous about the team. But when you look at the lineup, they still have one of the best lineups in baseball. And you look at their pitching staff, I know health's going to be a big issue, but if they stay healthy, they're going to have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. And when you got a good lineup, Ray, and you got a good pitching staff, usually a recipe for success.
We're all still hurt, is what it is. This city is still hurt by what happened to them in that Mets series and the second half of the season, where it was like, oh, no, this team can find the gear again. This team can find the gear again. Never found the gear again. People are still living in that hurt. I understand. And now you've seen them not do it 3 consecutive years in the postseason. And the bats go cold at the worst possible time. I keep feeling like every time I see the Dodgers make a move, I've said this a million times. Every time the Dodgers make a move, 2023 hurts me even more because I was like, that was their chance. They win just one of those games against Diamondbacks, go to the World Series. I think they could take care of business there. They would have had this team would have had their run. I understand you're hurt by this team, but look, and you brought this up. Nationally, the talking point isn't is this Phillies team cooked. It's wow, this Phillies team is still a top 5 team in baseball. Wow, this Phillies team still has a chance to go win a World Series. That's the reality of the baseball team you have. I understand. You now know the concerns. They've smacked you in the face before. But get up off the mat, all right? Come on. This window is not closed. This run is not over. Do not start just ceding to, I don't think the baseball team has it anymore. This is a team that's going to be playing in the postseason.
Yeah, you're right. It's interesting because on a national level, everyone has the Phillies as a true contender. And then when you look at Vegas, they have the Phillies as a true contender. I mean, they got the Phillies as the 3rd best odds to win in the National League. They're only a plus 600. The Braves are a plus 550, so that's neck and neck. Now, obviously, the Dodgers are the favorites at a plus 135. But nationally and in Vegas, they got our Philadelphia Phillies as a true contender. So that's why we threw out the question to start the show, which Phillies are facing a make or break season? Ray says Alec Boehm. I went with Bryson Stott. But we got a caller on the line, Anthony from Paoli, who's got an interesting Philly that he says it's a make or break season. Anthony, what's up, man? You're on the Fanatic.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning, Ray. How you guys doing?
Not too bad. It's Friday, brother.
That's right, man. The weekend's here. A little windy, but that's all right. We'll manage. So,
what do you got on the Phils?
Okay. Well, I think my Philly for a make or break season is Rob Thompson, and I'll explain why. I think that if we don't make the playoffs, or if we do make the playoffs and get bounced into wild card or NLDS, I think it comes down to Rob Thompson's job at that point, because you're going to get all the critics and the buzz, man. It's going to be, why isn't he shaking the lineup up? Why is it still this righty-lefty thing? Why does he keep pulling starters out of the 5th and 6th inning? And even if he's like backed off on some of that stuff, I still think, it's still going to be that question. He's always going to be the one that's going to take that criticism if you don't I mean, the expectations this year is like you got to go out and win the World Series. So, like, I don't know. I feel like, and you got to do it early. Like, I know that April and May is like kind of like people say, oh, it's irrelevant. But like, if you play 500 baseball this early, like, and you're playing catch up for the rest of the season, like, you got to come out and win games. So, I think a lot of it's going to be on Rob Thompson this year.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with, but I've been very critical of Rob Thompson. But the crazy thing is, he's one of only 3 managers in Major League Baseball that has brought their team to the playoffs 3 straight years. Like, so I mean, I've been critical of him, and I do agree with you. I think it's a make or break season. But when you look at what he's done in 3 seasons, it's kind of crazy that we're talking about him being on the hot seat. But it's because we're not satisfied with simply making the postseason. We want more. But listen, you want an NCAA team? We're going to keep that thing going.
Absolutely, my man.
All right, there's a lot of good teams in the bag. Ray's going in the bag today.
All right, I want this very, very much on the record here. I have no idea what's going in. I'm just picking a team out. All right, let's see what we got for you.
They got a good one, Ray.
Right. I got the field, which
That's not bad.
I know Mike gave us the field. I feel bad on that one, though, because now you're basically playing for 10 seats here.
Yeah, because we have 1 through 8 in there.
I know this isn't our thing to make the decision on, but I say we dump this audio right now.
All right, we're dumping.
I throw this in the trash and we get something else for Anthony.
Ray's making an executive decision. We're going to get you a better team than just the field because we're late in the tournament.
Nice.
If a 10 seed wins, I'll apologize to you later. All right.
What do you
man.
get?
You can read this one.
Wow. A number 1 seed. You got Florida, Anthony.
Let's go.
All right, so stay on the line so our producer can get your info because that may be a winner right there. If Florida makes the Final Four, Anthony's getting a gift certificate to a restaurant. Now, Anthony's answer is one that I thought we would get, Mike.
Mike.
So used to
Wow,
talking to Mike. I'm sorry, Ray. I miss him.
fine.
I miss him. Miss you, Mikey. Miss if you're out there. I thought we would get this answer right away. That
Yeah.
Rob Thompson was on the hot seat. And like I said, I've been critical of the guy. I mean, what's your position? Are we sometimes, especially with baseball managers, do we blame them too much instead of looking at the players?
Yeah. 100%. Also, like the caller points out, I think Anthony said, taking pitchers out in the 5th or the 6th inning. The Phillies last year were top 5 in innings pitched by starters. And remember, they were going without a 5th starter pretty much every 5th. Like, Taijuan Walker was one of those starters. They had bullpen games in there. They had Tyler Phillips in there. Like, no disrespect, Tyler Phillips had that 1 complete game. He's from here, yada, yada. But, like, we've done that so many. We throw things out there that, like, they do things that are not necessarily new school baseball. Like, some of the things that you should like, keeping pitchers in longer, they actually do compared to the rest of baseball. You just don't see the rest of baseball. You see the Phillies, so you're hyper-focused on criticizing the manager. But at the end of the day, the manager wasn't chasing the ball outside the zone in the postseason. Or he didn't tell Hoffman, yo, serve up a meatball here in the playoffs.
Yeah, the bullpen woes in the postseason, it's hard to blame him when your best bullpen guy just falls off. But I have had my issues with his lack of accountability. Because when you say it's not his fault that they continue to chase. I don't know, I was reading an article today by Paul Hagan on NBC Sports Philadelphia. And Rob Thompson says one of the biggest things is to not lose the clubhouse. And Hagan says the real trick is being able to juggle the egos and personalities. And that's something that Rob Thompson excels at. Well, does he? I mean, really, does he? I want to have this conversation because you got Alec Boehm sulking. He needs to be benched. You have guys that continue to chase who aren't changing. You allowed complacency to set in down the stretch last season. We'll continue this conversation because you sound like a Rob Thompson defender. It feels like Mike Missanelli's here again. We'll continue to Phillies. We'll get to more of your texts on the other side. Who faces a make or break season this season? We'll be right back.
Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Vitalico, and Silva.
You got Bill Colarulo and Ray Dunn today. No Mikey Miss. Wishing him well. He's a little under the weather. Either that or he's just laying there watching all NCAA tournament games, right? That's a possibility, too.
I'll be honest with you. He beat me to the punch.
Both of you were going to call out today?
I was like...
Leave me hanging?
I was like, last night I was like, maybe I could just,
Yeah.
I'm feeling that good. Maybe I could come into the first hour. I pull one of those. I know. I think both Connor and Silvana both pulled that off at one point one week where they came in, they were feeling no good in the middle of the show, and they ended up having to have someone else jump in the seat. So I was like, yeah, maybe I could pull that one off.
What do we got today? Games coming up. There's the first game's at 12:15.
We got everything today. Today is the second of the two most beautiful days of the year.
Yeah, you got Baylor, Mississippi at 12:15. That should be a good game. Robert Morris, Alabama. Robert Morris has 0 shot.
Can I say something? I don't mean to be controversial here.
What you got?
Yesterday afternoon,
Yeah, the games weren't that great.
like I liked the comeback by. I didn't like the comeback by Clemson because I put so much into McNeese, like just emotionally. To see that happen was very jarring. But the afternoon slate left a little bit desired. I'll be honest with you. If you used PTO yesterday,
Yeah, you're probably regretting it.
yeah, you could have went home and just watched the good stuff later on.
But then the odds would tell you today's going to be an awesome day of basketball.
Yeah,
Right? You're probably going to get an awesome day of basketball.
again, I'm complaining about a day in which I just sat there and watched basketball. It's really not that bad in life.
Yeah, speaking of not that bad of life, you mentioned McNeese. That manager who comes out with the big boom box
Yeah.
before the games,
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
he's living the dream.
There was no way they were not going to win at least one tournament game.
He's living the dream.
Also, Will Wade had to win a tournament game too.
So we'll see. We'll keep you updated. Once the games tip off at 12:15, we'll keep you updated if you're driving around listening to us and you can't watch. But we're also talking about the Fightin' Phils today because they're less than a week away. And, Ray, you know what that means, that they're less than a week away?
What does it mean?
It means that Philly Sports Trips is back at it.
Oh.
Because we're going to give you a chance to win your way onto the road trip for opening day in Washington, D.C. with Philly Sports Trips. The trip will include a top-notch tailgate, bus transportation, and tickets in the 100 level with hundreds of fellow Philly fans for the March 27th game in D.C. It's only 6 days away. It also happens to be the wife's birthday, March 27th.
Happy early birthday.
So enter for your chance to win on our contest page at 975thefanatic.com. Again, this is brought to you from Philly Sports Trips. Book your trip today at phillysportstrips.com. And since we're only 6 days away from the Fightin' Phils, we're asking, well, who has a make or break season? So far, Ray Dunn said Alec Boehm. I agree. I went with Bryson Stott, our man Bryson Stott, who I keep hearing is going to hit 300. Last year had a step back. We've gotten Rob Thompson. We briefly discussed Dave Dombrowski. Now, interestingly, when the Rob Thompson name comes up, it becomes a very polarizing discussion because some think baseball managers can't do that much. The players are the ones that need to share in the responsibility, which I agree with to a certain extent. Me and Mike have gone at it because he'll say, well, what do you want the manager to do? And my response is always, well, then what's the point of a manager if he can't do anything? I do think that Rob Thompson needs to do more this season. He needs to do more and maybe holding players accountable. And I do think, I heard Tyrone talking yesterday, and I agree with this take. It was a good start that they sent Garrett Stubbs down to AAA because it wasn't just about the vibes, and it wasn't just about, well, we want everybody to be comfortable, so we're going to keep Garrett Stubbs here. It's no, Rafael Marchand gives you a better backup catcher than what Garrett Stubbs is. I like that. And I think Rob Thompson needs to do more of that this season. You saw him bench Alec Boehm in the NLDS last year, but I think that was a little too late. Too little, too late.
Well, they tried to bench him in September. Remember, he had the weird off day in like the middle of September, and I forget what I want to say pregame that Thompson had said that they were sitting him down just to get him reset or something. Like, it was basically just like a load management day kind of deal, which wasn't the phrasing he used. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's not necessarily what I would expect at this time of the year for that to be going on. You know, like they did seem to have the division that they were going to get it, and I remember that happening being, oh. So they tried it. That was part of the reason why so many people wanted to move on from Boehm after the season, because it didn't seem like there were a lot of answers for him. And he just kind of got himself into a mental funk that he never worked himself out of.
Now, I'm looking at the YouTube chat, and I love our YouTube chat, so big shout out to our YouTube peeps. But somebody in the chat says, Bill will make a million excuses for Nick Sirianni, but will kill Topper.
So true.
But let me ask you, are we really still going to debate a Super Bowl champion head coach's ability? The reason that I defended him is because I thought he was a good coach, and I think he's proven as such. They just won the damn Super Bowl. Thompson has come up short every single season. And one of my biggest problems with Rob Thompson last year wasn't just the lineup and wasn't just the bullpen. It's that he allowed complacency to set in the second half of the season. After that hot start that they had, after the All-Star break, Ray, they were not playing great baseball, and I felt that Rob Thompson allowed that complacency to step in, to set in, and I kept saying it leading into the postseason. You're not going to be able to just flip that switch. On the day when Bryce Harper, we gave him an off day, and you're down by 1, and you got an opportunity to pinch hit with Bryce Harper. No, it's an off day. We're just going to take the loss. You can't allow complacency to set in when you're a team that's hoping to go on a long postseason run. That was my biggest problem with him last year. Ray looks very angry. I hear the music. I'll get Ray's response on the other side. I still want to hear from all of you, though, because there's a big name of a player that I think should be on the make or break list, and we haven't heard it yet, Ray. And I think you know where I'm going with that. So you can get in 610-632-0975. We'll be right back.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Free agency has quieted down. I'm Sean Rodman, and this update is brought to you by Parks Casino. Play your favorite casino games and bet sports on Bet Parks app. You love to play, you play to win, you bet. Bet Parks. Must be 21 and in PA or New Jersey. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Free agency may be quieting down, but the NFL draft is right around the corner. The Eagles currently have 8 draft picks this year. ESPN's Tim McManus joined the best show ever yesterday, and he believes the Eagles may not stay at 32.
They'll look to move up a few spots if they see that a quarterback is, a team wants to come in at 32, they can move back. So as we know with Roseman, options are on the table. He is not averse to trading. He's about as active GM when it comes to that.
Opening day for the Phillies is less than a week away. The Phillies will head to D.C. to start the season, to take on the Nationals next Thursday. And the Sixers are back in action tonight in San Antonio. It'll be the team's 4th game on this 6-game road trip. You can listen to the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Pre-game coverage begins at 7:50. This update is also brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia Phillies, 6 days away from starting their season. It appears nationally there's a lot more confidence in this Phillies team than locally. You look at some of the national guys who cover the Philadelphia Phillies, they all have them ranked in the top 5 of the power rankings. I read an article earlier from MLB.com, bold prediction, Phillies win the World Series. Didn't even have the Mets making the postseason. You look at the Vegas odds, you're fighting Phil's third best odds to win the National League at a plus 600, with the Braves only at a plus 550. So maybe we're too hyper-focused on the deficiencies and not looking at all the positives of this team, but we threw out the question to start the show, which Phillies face a make-or-break season? Now, we talked about Alec Boehm. We've talked about Bryson Stott. We've talked about Rob Thompson. Now, I said I did not like that last season Rob Thompson allowed complacency to set in when they were not playing great baseball down the stretch. It was almost like they were okay with losing games. We gave Bryce Harper the day off. No need for him to pinch hit in a close game. We'll just take the L. And when I said that, I saw Ray Dunn almost fall out of his chair because, like Mike Missanelli, I got another Rob Thompson apologist in the studio today. So what made you so frustrated, Ray, when I said that Rob Thompson allowed complacency to set in last year?
The complacency, honestly, the frustration with you had already set in before that you talked about the complacency, because I've heard you drive that point home time and time and time.
I hear annoyance in your voice.
Oh, no. Me annoyed with you? That would never happen.
Sarcasm
on this
from Ray Dunn?
Nah, I've never once been annoyed with you on this show. But you are the same guy that going into last season for the Philadelphia Eagles would trumpet, well, look at Sirianni's he's made the playoffs 3 straight seasons to start his time. How many coaches have ever done that? 3 consecutive seasons. So what? They lost in the first round last year. He was in the Super Bowl just a year ago. This guy did it before. 3 straight seasons. Rob Thompson literally has that resume where he's been in the big game or the big series, and he's had 2 disappointing exits. It's literally the exact same resume would put Sirianni's. No, it's the same.
Yes, very similar record.
Same.
But I will say this, Ray. I will say this, that going into the season, as much as I defended Nick Sirianni, my point was that Sirianni deserved to come back last year as the head coach. But I also agreed that if he struggled, that he probably would not be back. And with Rob Thompson,
at 10:30, I said the same thing as you. I said I'm leaning to the fact that if he doesn't have a good year this year, he's probably the one that's going to have to go because they're going to probably change over the core and they're going to want a new voice in there.
Well, and that's how I feel about Rob Thompson. I would not have moved on from him. No. I feel like he's done enough to come back, but I think this is a make or break year. But you're listening to WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. So I think you and I, even though we're battling a little bit, we do see eye to eye that Rob Thompson is in a make or break season.
I mean, just the one thing here is that you'll do anything to save Sirianni, and you just,
dude, I don't need to save
Thompson
him.
To the Wolves.
The guy's holding up the Lombardi trophy.
Yeah, I know, it's great.
I don't need to defend him anymore, and I'm shocked that we're even having the conversation. He has proven. Now, they had an interesting conversation on the morning show. I don't know if you caught this morning. They were ranking the 4 current coaches in Philadelphia.
Right.
And they had Sirianni, Topper, Tortorella, and Nurse. But Connor said if Rob Thompson wins the World Series this year, that he would leapfrog Sirianni. I don't see that. Now, I get, again, they would have almost identical resumes. 2 World Series appearances and a win by Thompson if they win it this year.
Right.
2 Super Bowl appearances and a win by Sirianni. I think that maybe they would be equal. I don't think one would be higher than the other.
I mean, it all depends on how it happens, but if the Phillies were to win this World Series this year, they would do so in a league where they are not definitively the best team, which would mean that he would have to have done a number in terms of managing them to that position. Like, I go back and them winning those Braves series the last couple years. I thought the game 1 against the Braves in 2023, it's weird, I was actually talking about this. I went on a little rabbit hole the other day on YouTube, and I was going back through the good postseason moments the last couple years.
Oh, you were watching those?
Just to fire myself up a little bit for this season. And I went back to the 2023 game 1 where he pulls Suarez early.
Yes.
And it ends up the way they end up working that out. They steal game 1. They get what they need out of Atlanta. They come back, and they have the 1-1 split. And probably should have been up 2-0, but whatever. And they end up winning that series. And I think he's been able to manage them to knock off some very impressive teams. And that's not to take away from Sirianni what he's done to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl this past year. But I think if he were to win the World Series this year, you could make the argument that Sirianni won his Super Bowl with the best team in football. Thompson probably would have had to manage a team less talented than the Dodgers, really. I mean, everyone else I feel like is marginal in the top 5 where you could pick weaknesses out with them. The Dodgers are by far and away the best team in baseball.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to agree on this.
What?
Because that is a great point. The Philadelphia Eagles, and I do think Nick Sirianni did a great job, but they did have the best roster in all of football. Whereas you look at the Phillies right now, as good as they are, their lineup and their pitching staff, they're not as good as the Dodgers. And they're just not. Doesn't mean they can't beat them. It doesn't mean that they can't win the World Series. But you are correct. If you look at the teams on paper, the Eagles had the best roster in football. The Phillies do not have the best roster in baseball.
And something that you give Sirianni credit for that I would probably have to give Thompson credit for if they were to win this season is the way he would manage this roster specifically to get there healthy. Like, how much you play JT this season matters. How much time you give Schwarber in the field versus Harper, at first, the DHing, how he manages all that this season, and I imagine this is a collaborative organization effort, but that'll be important. That'll be very important. Like, I'm not thrilled with the idea of Schwarber going out there and especially being in left field, because the last time he did that, he hurt himself. Like, if he's at first base, all right, what does that mean? Where's Harper at? Like, I think the way he ends up managing, and you're going to have to figure out what you're doing in the outfield, but day in and day out, especially if they don't have they don't go out and get a right-hand bat throughout the season. I think he's going to have to manage this team to an extent. Obviously, the talent's there, and we know what they have, but to get them there healthy and get them there with some semblance of a plan by the time we get to October. So if he were to win a World Series this year, I would leapfrog him into the number one conversation. It's not to take away from what Sirianni just did, and there's a sizable gap right now between Sirianni and literally any coach in this city, which as I say that, I'm kind of shocked at the words coming out of my mouth, but
you should have listened to me all along, man.
Shut up.
No, but you're making a very good point about Rob Thompson. So he wouldn't even be number one on my list, and he wasn't. I had Bryson Stott in the make or break, but I know a lot of people want to weigh in on this at 610-632-0975, and now we're going to go to one of our favorite callers. The YouTube chat looks forward to this caller every single day. Our resident Dr. Mad Elf. We got Greg from Bethlehem. What's up, Greg?
Good morning, gentlemen. I use that term loosely.
Oh, taking a shot. I just gave you a great intro, and you take a shot at me. Greg.
And I appreciate it. Nostradamus is off with a hangnail today.
I think the problem was yesterday, Mike used his medium ability so much that it weakened him. You know what I mean? You know when they really go deep into their supernatural, they get weak, and that's why he needs the day. So what do you got for the Phils, Greg?
Well, I think Alec Boehm is a critical component of this team's potential success. And, do you think that his approach at the plate changed dramatically after the home run derby last year? Because he had such a great first half, and the second half, it seemed like he was swinging for the fences, not being, he needs to let the ball get deep and swing level and hit gap-to-gap line drives and just move the train along. And that's the best version of Alec Boehm.
Yeah, look, we talked about this last year before the home run derby. That's been proven as a myth that batters who participate in the home run derby, it doesn't affect them after. See, we just all have the memories of Bobby Abreu and think that that's the rule, but it's really the exception. But when you look at Alec Boehm's numbers pre and post All-Star, yeah, he went from a 295 hitter down to a 251 hitter, but I don't think it was because he was swinging for the fences. He only had 4 home runs after the All-Star break. I don't know what it was with Alec Boehm, but I think a lot of it is upstairs with his head.
Yeah, I think I agree. I just think, he was getting out in front of the ball. He was trying to drive everything over the fence, and it changed his swing in the second half.
Yeah, look, it's tough to say it was because of the home run derby. And to be honest with you, Ray and I kind of went back and forth on this. I'd like to see Alec Boehm hit for a little bit more power. Like, I don't have a problem with a guy that big who's your third baseman trying to drive the ball a little bit. For his size and the position he plays, only 15 home runs is pretty ridiculous. But listen, Greg, I know you want an NCAA team. You want to take part in this and have a shot. If your team goes to the Final Four, you win a gift card to a restaurant. Ray's going to dive into the...
We got Greg a team this week, right?
Greg, did you get a team already?
No, they didn't give it to me.
Oh, all right. Fair enough.
Yes.
I thought we heard from Greg this week.
No, Sean said he needed one.
All right. Well, Greg, we got you one. Let's see what we got here.
All right.
Hey, you already got a team with a victory. A team that I picked to lose. You got BYU.
A lot of people.
All right.
A lot of people had VCU winning
Yes,
that
I
game.
did
Thank
too.
you, Greg. Have a good weekend.
My A10 bias.
Yeah, that was
That was tough.
that was
I
tough. A lot of
appreciate
people had VC. I had him winning. Mike had him winning. You had him winning. We were dead wrong on that.
Real quick to his Alec Boehm point there. 673 OPS from like June 25th on. That's before the home run derby. It's not the home run derby. He struggled.
Yeah,
Like,
he started to struggle.
He struggled. And I think it was funny. I want to say this was in a Destiny LaGuardia story on Phillies Nation, where the idea of Thompson in April last year or May last year said, yeah, Boehm might have figured it out, or he might just be hot right now. He was hot at the beginning of the season. Got him an all-star nod. He showed out in the home run derby. He cooled off. Need to be more consistent this season.
Could be Aaron Dolan's fault. You never know.
Stop it.
Could
Stop
be the
it.
girl.
Stop
You never
it.
know.
Stop it. You
What
don't
did
believe
Mick? What
that.
did the Mick say? Women, weak in
Oh,
legs.
Stop it. Stop it.
I'm just messing around. I'm happy for Alec and Aaron. They look like a cute couple, those two. But a player that we have not heard yet. We're going to get to the text board because a lot of people are weighing in. But a player we have not heard yet is sitting as the highest ranked player on the top 100 players in Major League Baseball, according to CBS. The Phillies had 6 on this list. I'll read them all to you when we get back. But the player that was ranked the highest as a positional player for the Phillies may surprise you. We'll talk about it coming up.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Sixers win.
so far. Alec Boehm, obvious one. Bryson Stott, I think that's an obvious one. And then, like on any team, you always look at the coach or the manager. So people are talking about Rob Thompson. But I'm a little surprised that we have not yet heard. I haven't really seen it on the YouTube chat. We haven't got it on the text board. Nobody said it on the phones of a player that I think is going to need to have a make or break season. Now, maybe they didn't say it because when you talk about make or break, meaning maybe the guy wouldn't be here. Well, this player is going to be here for a long time because he's got a long contract. And that's Trea Turner, right? Because Trea Turner most likely is going to be your leadoff hitter, as I think he should be.
How long do they stick with that?
Well, I think they better stick with it. See, when we talk about Rob Thompson, you've shown patience with other things. I think you have to at least give it a couple of months. I don't want this to be, we tried it for 2 weeks, didn't work out. I think you got to let them settle in and see how Trea Turner adjusts to being a leadoff hitter. Now, when we say make or break, maybe the reason Trea Turner is not being referenced, like I said, is because he's got that big contract. And Trea Turner has not been bad. He just hasn't been the MVP caliber player you thought you were signing when you got him a couple years ago.
Yeah, you've only had stretches of that. You haven't had the full, incredible, oh my goodness, this is Trea Turner, this is what you paid for type season.
He started last year really strong.
He did. I was there the night he got hurt.
Yeah, he started really strong.
Doesn't
and then,
say much. I'm there a lot.
And then he hurts the hamstring. I'm looking at his numbers. I mean, the fact is, I looked at these the other day, and if I would have told you that last season Trea Turner hit 295, you thought I was crazy. No, he didn't have that great of a season.
It's because you remember the end of it.
Yeah, because you remember how
the
it
second
ended.
half. Because he was hitting 340 something when he got hurt. He was hitting it was ridiculous. We were talking about batting title, what could he hit 330 for a season? I'm curious for you, just to walk down this path though with him as a leadoff hitter. I'll give you a couple of very important dates on the calendar. Okay, I'll start with April 21st. That's my birthday. Will I turn 25 with Trea Turner as the leadoff hitter?
Wait, when's your birthday?
April 21st.
I would hope so.
All right, let's move on. May 11th. Will Bridget celebrate Mother's Day with Trea Turner as the leadoff hitter?
Again, I would hope so.
All right. Memorial Day. Will we all rejoice down the Jersey Shore at the start of summer with Trea Turner as the leadoff hitter?
At that point, I think it's a question mark depending on how he's performing as a leadoff hitter and how the Phillies are performing. So I would be okay with, if it's not working out, by Memorial Day, you make a switch. I just don't want to see them make the switch too early into the season. I think you got to give it some time.
Well, now the flip side of that is, if Schwarber's not hitting, are we going to blame it on the early season struggles, or are they going to blame it on him on not leading off? Because it was something that Andrew Salciunas said to me off there 2 weeks ago. I don't know. We were having this debate. He comes in there in that studio after they get done in here, and Andrew and I do a 5 to 7 minute show with the two of us just talking back and forth while you guys actually open up this show. I know that it's kind of confusing.
No wonder why you're never ready when the show starts.
That's exactly it. Andrew and I have our own little show going on there. One of our days was, when will they give up on the Trea Turner leadoff experiment? And he was like, well, they're going to blame Schwarber not hitting. And he's like, just wait. If Schwarber doesn't have a good June, then forget it. We'll never see Schwarber anywhere but leadoff for the rest of his life.
Well, Schwarber always has a good June.
Well, if he doesn't this year, they'll blame it on the fact that he's not batting leadoff.
So that's what you're thinking. The month of June will be when they make the change?
That would be the one that I would expect them to make the change, if they were to make a change.
I hope it works out. It just, when you look at the lineup with Turner as your leadoff hitter, until you get to the very bottom of the lineup where they have a couple of back-to-back left-handed hitters, it's a pretty solid lineup. It should make sense. If you have Turner as your leadoff, now he's got to have better plate discipline. He can't chase. He's got to do whatever he's got to do to get on base. I know Bryce Harper batting second maybe makes Turner not as aggressive on the base paths as some people want, but I think he would have to be a little bit more aggressive in stealing bases again. And then Alec Boehm as your 3-hole. I don't want Alec Boehm as my cleanup hitter. He doesn't have enough power, and it seems to fit perfectly with Schwarber batting cleanup. It just all seems to fall in place. I just hope they give it a chance. That's all I want Rob Thompson to do. Just give it a chance. Let's see how things go. Because one of the things that a caller earlier said was, well, they got to come out to a hot start. Phillies got to come out to a hot start. I actually disagree. I thought that it was important last year. And if you go back to last season's spring training, Rob Thompson was very adamant about that. Like they were hungry and they've gotten close and now they want to take a bite out of it. And their goal was to win the NL East and they want to come out hot. And they did that. They came out on fire, 40-18. They started the months of May and April. One game in March, I think. But then they started to fall off after the All-Star break. Whereas you look at the prior 2 seasons, they started slow and finished hot. So I don't even care if this team doesn't come out like gangbusters. Give this lineup an opportunity to get comfortable. Keep Trea Turner at the leadoff. Keep Bryce Harper at the 2. Let's be patient. Normally I get mad at Rob Thompson for being too complacent. Let's be a little complacent to
We're
start
not going
the
to be
year.
patient. They got some slop in this early season schedule. If they don't come out to a hot start, it's going to be like, well, why did they drop 2 or 3 to the Marlins? Why can't they beat the Nationals? You mean to tell me this team can't take care of St. Louis? They lost to the Rockies again? There's not going to be a lot of patience around here if they don't get off to a nice start. You don't have to be 25 games over 500 by the end of June. But
when I say hot start, I don't need them to be a terrible start. I'd be all right if they're hovering around 500 to start the season. But look, I teased it earlier. CBS put out an article a couple days ago ranking their top 100 players this coming season. And the positional player for the Phillies that ranked the highest may shock you. They had 6 guys on the list, which was 4th best. We'll get into that coming up on the other side. Keep it here. This is the Mike Missanelli Show. You got Bill Colarulo, Ray Dunn. We'll be right back.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Free agency has quieted down. I'm Sean Rodman, and this update is brought to you by Natural Lawn of America. Get free seeding every year. Call 800-FREE-SEED now. And the free agency may be quieting down, but the NFL draft is right around the corner. The Eagles currently have 8 draft picks this year. ESPN's Tim McManus joined the best show ever yesterday, and he believes the Eagles may not stay at 32.
They'll look to move up a few spots if they see that a quarterback is, a team wants to come in at 32, they can move back. So as we know with Roseman, options are on the table. He is not averse to trading. He's about as active GM when it comes to that.
Opening day for the Phils is less than a week away. The Phils will head to D.C. to start the season to take on the Nationals next Thursday, and the Sixers are back in action tonight in San Antonio. It will be the team's 4th game on this 6-game road trip. You can listen to the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Pre-game coverage begins at 7:50. This report is also sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. That feeling of owning your first Mercedes-Benz is hard to believe, but it's real. From the leather stitching to the iconic design, every element of a Mercedes lives up to its reputation. See for yourself at your local dealer. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Doing a lot of Phillies talk here today on the show. Trying to get fired up for a Phillies season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. That's why we're talking about, let's be patient with this lineup a little bit. If you're going to have Trea Turner lead off, let's see how it works out before we make a drastic change in a couple of weeks if they're not doing as well as maybe we hoped that they would. But while we talk about the Sixers, as we talk about the Phillies, I was going to say the Sixers are still playing games, even though a lot of people are
Tonight, right here,
ignoring it.
97.5, the Fanatic.
Yeah, a lot of people have kind of tuned out the Sixers, but you're not going to want to tune out this because we got our Fanatic knockout tournament coming up next Wednesday night. And now I'm going to give you our keyword of the day because you could get a spot in the knockout tournament and a pair of Sixers tickets. The Fanatic knockout tournament is Wednesday, March 26th. And you enter today's keyword on the contest page at 975thefanatic.com for your chance to win a spot. You have until the end of the day to enter it, and each winner gets a pair of tickets to the game that night versus the Wizards. And then after the game, you go down to the court to participate in knockout. Last year was my first knockout tournament, and it is pretty cool. It's really cool. You get to go down to the court. There's a lot of people there. All of us will be there. So if you want a shot, go to 975thefanatic.com's contest page and enter today's keyword. And today's keyword is basket. Basket. B-A-S-K-E-T. Basket. And we've had a winner every single day. Who won yesterday, Ray?
We had Brian Schatzman from Sicklerville.
Ah, Sicklerville, my old stomping grounds.
So I also want to be completely honest about something. I was terrified for all about 30 seconds there because I didn't remember whether or not I had updated the keyword. And you remember we had the big keyword snafu early on in this program's history.
Yes.
Where I gave the wrong keyword the wrong day, and it became a whole big, problem. And I'm glad that I did update.
Is this updated? Is this the right
correct
keyword?
word? It is the correct. Basket is the correct word. So while Bill might not be, making baskets out there on the floor, you type in basket today, and you get yourself potentially to knockout.
Yes,
I'm also questionable now. I want to put that out there. Injury report for
stop ducking
knockout.
us.
I'm not ducking anything. I'm feeling better today. I honestly, yesterday I was on doubtful. I've been upgraded to questionable. I'm trending towards being available for knockout on Wednesday.
You hear this?
Ray, you're going to have a few beers in you. You'll feel fine.
These are built-in excuses now.
If you saw my foot, you would understand why. And I'm not showing anyone my feet. All right? That's not what I'm about. So if you're about that.
Speaking of your feet, and this is coming from the big boss, Paul Blake. He wanted you to show the camera the shoes. Because a lot of people are talking about that jacket looking fire. Ray matches the shoes if they show it on YouTube. You got to show it on YouTube. See, when I talk, they show me on YouTube.
Yeah, but it's delayed, so that this could be a really awkward me just sitting here like this.
Anyway.
Someone's going to walk by and be like, what are the two of them doing in that studio?
Oh, it made it onto the tube. I see it. So Ray's got on the powder blue shoes to match the powder blue jacket. But as we talk about the Fanatic Knockout Tournament, I got to tell you, it's sponsored by Barlow Chevrolet in Delran for honest pricing and dedicated service. Barlow Chevy in Delran.
See, now this is what I was worried about. YouTube chat's going crazy about me mentioning my feet.
Yeah, it's gross.
You're not getting anything, all right?
No, Ray definitely has hairy feet. There's no doubt about that. But we're not going to get into that. What I want to get into is this shocked me. CBS did a ranking of Major League Baseball's top 100 players entering in 2025. And it's a little bit of a projection because it's talking about who's going to be the best in 2025. The Dodgers had 9 players, no shock, the most of any team. The Braves and the Cubs had 7, and the Philadelphia Phillies, along with the Toronto Blue Jays, had 6. Now, it doesn't necessarily surprise me who the 6 are. I was a little surprised that Kyle Schwarber did not make the top 100.
I was, well.
But the position player that they have ranked the highest did surprise me. But here as they are. They got number 92, pitcher Christopher Sanchez. I like that, and I think maybe by the end of the season he'll be even higher than that. Maybe take a flyer on him as a potential Cy Young winner. Number 56, JT Realmuto. He may be ranked a little high.
He is ranked high.
I love JT, but I don't think he's going to be the same guy this season. He's not going to play. I hope he doesn't catch as many games as he's done in previous years before last year. Number 48, pitcher Aaron Nola. Number 38, Bryce Harper.
So you would say Bryce Harper has to be the highest position player on the Phillies.
You would assume.
Right?
Yeah, you would assume. But they have ranked at number 23 a guy that we have not yet heard from anyone saying is a make or break season, Trea Turner at number 23 out of the top 100 players in baseball. And then rounding out the list of 6 for the Fightin' Phils at number 13, and this one makes sense, pitcher Zach Wheeler. But how about Trea Turner being ranked that high? Look, I get it. It's a projection. And maybe this is finally the season where you see the Trea Turner you thought you were getting when you signed him a couple years ago. But ranked higher than Bryce? That one shocked me.
That means you're anticipating a poor year for Bryce. Bryce got to that position at first base and played at a high level. I mean, Trea Turner, just point blank at shortstop, has left some to be desired. And at the dish, there's been times where you've been left a lot to be desired from him so far as a Philly. Going into this season, there's no way in the world you can have Bryce Harper ranked lower than Trea Turner.
Yeah,
I mean, you're either projecting like Bryce has his back flare up and he misses a month, or projecting that like he's not going to play the full season, because there's no way you can put. Also, to put him at 38 feels kind of crazy. I mean, just in general, like there's good pitchers out there that you want to value properly. There are better players in the league. I don't want this to become like Bryce Harper's, the gift to baseball that, only great baseball player out there. But like 37 players? You're telling me there's 37 players?
And
I'm not taking that.
And the write-up underneath Bryce Harper on this list is Harper in 2024 enjoyed his healthiest full season since 2019. In 145 games, he slashed .285, .373, .525 with 30 homers, 42 doubles, 76 walks. At age 32, Harper is still a big-time producer at the plate. But yeah, you have him ranked 38, and then somehow Trea Turner at 23. Here's the write-up. That's more like it. Coming off a down 2023, Turner last season got back to a more typical level of production, meaning he was a special offensive player, especially as shortstops go. I guess if you're just looking at the numbers, like if you just look at the numbers, we talked about it earlier, Turner hit .295 last year. But not down the stretch. He didn't look great, especially in the postseason. Look, hopefully this is right. Hopefully this is how it turns out to be.
I hope that this is right in the sense that Trea Turner, by the end of the season, we're talking about, did Trea Turner have a better year than Bryce Harper? That would be, like, splendid. I would love to be debating whether or not Harper or Turner had a better season. That would be, like, best case for the way this season ends. But Turner, when he got hurt, was hitting .343 to start the season. From that point to the end of the season, Trea Turner ended up hitting .277, which is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. A .317 on base, which leaves a little bit to be desired, and a .790 OPS. Like, that's not horrible, but from where he was,
yes,
it's what dragged the numbers down. Like, you can't expect him to hit .343, but you would have loved for him to hit .295 the rest of the way. And we're talking about like a .315 season where his on base was somewhere in the .350, .360s, and an OPS that was north of 800.
Well, his on base has to go up, especially if he's going to be the leadoff hitter. Like I want him hovering close to 400. I know that's asking a lot.
That's asking quite a bit.
But he's done it before. I mean, you look back at his 2020 numbers, his on base percentage was .394. In 2021, before he got traded to the Dodgers, with the Dodgers, he was .385.
See, that to me, you're taking smaller sample sizes, though. Like that, those are hot stretches. 2020 is a 60-game stretch.
True.
His Dodgers time is a 50-game stretch. Like, if he's in the 360s.
Yeah, above 350, 360 as an on-base percentage may be okay. But what's crazy is you're right. Last season, when he started it off 343, I remember the conversations on the airwaves were, is he going to be the first Philly since Richie Ashburn to win the batting title? He's certainly capable of it.
Yeah.
All right, well, what do we got on the text board, Ray? I was saying, I'm so used to going to Ray behind the glass and going to Mike to my right. So, Sean, we threw out the question about the Phillies, like who has a make or break season. What do we got on the text board?
Yeah, a couple surprising ones. First up, that kind of surprised me a little bit was Alvarado. Some people saying that Alvarado has a make or break year, especially because he lost weight and had a down year last year. Then the big name that you were searching for finally came in. Phillies make or break, Trea Turner. No name from that texter.
Yeah, the Alvarado one is interesting because I think Alvarado has to have a big season for this team to go where we want them to go. Because when you look at that bullpen, Alvarado has to be one of your top arms in the pen. And from all accounts, he looks like he's in the best shape of his life. I hate that. I hate that saying. Best shape of his life in spring training. But that is what you're seeing from Alvarado. And he's added a pitch to his arsenal this year, right?
Mm-hmm. You got the curveball going.
So I don't know if it's a make or break as much as it is. And maybe it is a make or break. But I think you need Alvarado. You absolutely need him to have a big year from the pen.
Yeah, you do. And I think the approach for him coming into this season, down weight with another pitch, like it's a very his approach to the way he's going to attack hitters this year is going to be very interesting with that other pitch. Just how cerebral he might, instead of strike one, strike two, good luck. I feel like we're getting a little bit more of this time would approach this type of hitter. This is how I'm going to approach using my curveball here. Like, I like that. I think there's going to be a little bit more than just can I pump 102 past you.
Yeah, and then the other player you said was Alvarado, and who was the other one?
Trea Turner.
And Trea Turner.
Go figure.
Well, we'll continue that conversation, but I actually want to switch gears a little bit coming up. We'll keep going with the Phillies because Ray's wearing the awesome powder blue today, so we'll keep talking some Phils.
Oh, that's why we're talking Phils?
Yeah, but as we looked at some like rankings, Major League Baseball rankings, Devontae Smith went on a podcast and gave his quarterback rankings. And this was a little bit interesting what Devontae Smith had to say. So we'll switch over, do a little Eagles talk on the other side. Keep it here.
97.5 The Fanatics.
Welcome back into the Mike Missanelli Show. No Mike today, but you got Bill, you got Ray. Sean Rodman behind the glass. Been doing a lot of Phillies talk for the last 2 hours, but I want to switch gears a little bit. Talk about our birds. That's the Philadelphia Eagles, Ray. Don't get too excited. Because Devontae Smith.
I'm flying down to Florida to go talk with some people in corporate. I'm disgusted.
Devontae Smith.
That was horrible.
Went on a podcast with Carmelo Anthony. So I didn't even know Carmelo has a podcast. Apparently it's called 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. I don't get it. I guess because that's when tip-off usually is, 7 p.m.? What's the 7 p.m. part? Games usually start at 7?
Dude, I didn't put that much thought into it.
I don't get it.
It's a podcast name. What was the name of your podcast?
Legal Hands to the Face used to be my pod.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Everyone gets that. I was a lawyer. It's a play on a football term. It was excellent, dude. Excellent.
Wait, you were a lawyer?
My dad came up with that name. Anyway, this isn't about me.
I didn't know you were a lawyer.
Yeah.
We should dive into that. I feel like we should cover that.
Do we
part of
never
your
talk
life.
about that?
I've
Did you know
never
my
heard
wife
that.
was a personal trainer? Did I ever tell you that?
You got a wife? Oh my gosh! If I find out you have a kid, that's it. I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, I have 3.
What?
3 kids, baby at home.
Oh my!
All right, so
He's got a baby at home. Who talks about? Why don't you talk about this more?
Yeah, right. So Devontae Smith went on Carmelo Anthony's 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast, and I know this is the question that just keeps getting circulated every offseason in the NFL, even during the season. Everyone loves to rank quarterbacks. Oh, where does this quarterback rank? And for whatever reason, Jalen Hurts is always a very polarizing discussion because some people have him ranked higher than others. Well, if you remember, Darius Slay, former Philadelphia Eagle, Darius Slay, was on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and when he listed his elite quarterbacks, he didn't name Jalen Hurts. He named Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, but left Jalen Hurts off. Well, listen to what Devontae Smith had to say when Carmelo Anthony asked him about the top quarterbacks in the NFL.
Jalen Hurts talk, especially knowing him as long as you've had, about him being a quote-unquote elite quarterback.
I mean, Slay said, the big 4. For me, it's the big 5. And, Jalen is in that 5. With the 4 that he named, and then I'm putting Jalen in there, That, to me, that's the big 5. I don't think it's a big 4. I think it's a big 5, honestly.
I mean, he got to be in there now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a big 5. Well, first of all, Devontae Smith, this is how you handle it. Philadelphia Eagles players, if you get asked, you put your teammate up there after he just won the damn Super Bowl and is a Super Bowl MVP. But let's look into this then. So he says there should be a big 5, not a big 4. I think we would all agree Patrick Mahomes deserves to be in the top. Any arguments there, Ray?
Well, he did just lose the Super Bowl, so.
But any arguments?
You got to take him off.
He deserves to be in the top.
Is he even top 5 anymore?
Stop.
Yeah, he's the top quarterback. I don't know why you even have to ask me if that's debatable. He's the top quarterback in the NFL.
And then if we're ranking them, and again, we don't even have to rank them in order. If you're going to go with a top 5, Josh Allen has to be up there. He just won the MVP. Lamar Jackson is coming off of another MVP caliber season. Joe Burrow, man, if they would just give him any sort of defense in Cincinnati, what this guy's done. So I'm okay with what Devontae Smith's saying, and then clearly Jalen Hurts has to be in the top 5. But here's what makes me the most excited about this Big 5 list. What is the common theme among the other 4 quarterbacks not named Jalen Hurts in the top 5? Can you guess?
They all play quarterback?
Sean, you know where I'm going with this?
They're all in the AFC.
They are all in the AFC. That is spot on, Ray. Because that's the best part about when you look around the NFC right now. And I've said this to Mike. Even though you may be a little bit disappointed in some of the moves, and we'll talk about them coming up later, but with some of the moves that have been made or lack thereof, you still have the best quarterback in the NFC. And I don't think it's even close. When you look around the NFC, who else would you put up there? Because when we talk about a Big 5, there's nobody else that's getting in that Big 5 from the NFC besides Jalen Hurts. There's guys that maybe can take that leap this season. I know probably Jaden Daniels is coming to your mind Can he take that leap in his second season? Had a great rookie year, but so did C.J. Stroud, and you saw him take a step back last year. So look around the NFC. Can you make an argument that any quarterback in the NFC should be in the Big Five conversation, as Devontae Smith calls it?
I mean, Stafford's got the Super Bowl ring, the career to show for it, the capabilities to do it. I think he's obviously got pretty good weapons, and I know a lot of people out there in LA feel, or wherever their fans are, because I don't really feel like there's a lot of LA Rams fans. It's just Rams fans. People feel like they were a play away. They were a play away, but they didn't make that play, so that's why they didn't end up playing for the NFC Championship game.
You talking about the Rams?
Yeah.
A play away? Who are you? Chris Sims?
From winning that game? They were legitimately a play away from when they could have won that game.
I agree.
The game went the way it did. Good for the Birds. We can admit, it's been now, what, a month and a half since that game?
Yes. They were a play.
You were sweating when that was happening.
They were a play away, but I think that was a lot because the Eagles let up after that long Saquon run. Everybody thought the game was over.
But guess what? The Eagles wouldn't have been given a berth in the NFC Championship game because the NFL was like, wow, you let up in the last 5 minutes. The Rams came back in that game. It's okay. The Eagles controlled it for most of the game. They did come back in that game. Stafford, I think, probably has an argument to be around that level because every time I feel like I'm like, all right, I think Stafford's going to be done this year, he has another good season.
Yeah, he's 37 now.
Yeah. Am I taking him over Hurts right now? No.
They added Devontae Adams.
Yeah. That's solved any team's problems. Just throw Devontae Adams on there. Jaden Daniels would be one of the next up for that conversation. You are a big Goff guy.
Yeah, I actually think Jared Goff is a really good quarterback. And I've been saying that for a couple of years. I don't think that he necessarily gets all the discussion as he should. But as good as I think that he is, I would not put him in the Big Five conversation.
And I've said this to you before. The way that I judge a quarterback is can you can you build a championship winning offense around them? And a lot of people say, well, this year is built around Saquon Barkley. 2022, I saw a potential championship winning offense built around Jalen Hurts. And I think Jalen Hurts possessed the skill set to lead you to a championship, lead you to a championship, lead you to a Super Bowl. I mean, he's obviously got the ring now. I think a lot's going to be put on this offense a year from now, coming up in this season. And I think more is going to be put on his plate because I don't think you're going to expect Saquon to run for 2,000 yards again this season. But, yeah, I can put him in that Big Five conversation. I mean,
all right, so you got Stafford and Goff.
Yeah. And Daniels.
And Jaden Daniels. We look at some of the other ones. Brock Purdy. No. You're not putting him up there.
No.
Kyler Murray, no.
I can't wait for the 49ers to pay him all that money.
Baker Mayfield, no. Derek Carr, no. Bryce Young, no. Michael Penix Jr., no. J.J. McCarthy, no. Caleb Williams, no. Tommy DeVito, maybe? Dak Prescott, no. I mean, you really look at it. Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFC. He does belong in the Big Five conversation. I like the way Devontae Smith put it. And there's only a handful of other quarterbacks where you would look at them and say, yes, you know what? They can put what you called a championship offense around them. But as we're talking about rankings, some people love rankings, some people hate them. But as we're talking about rankings and Devontae Smith giving us his Big Five quarterbacks, there was an interesting article ranking the wide receiver duos in the NFL. Where do you think Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown rank according to wide receiver duos? Well, we'll take a look at this article. I'll let you know where they rank and get your opinion. You can get in 610-632-0975. A lot on the table. We're talking Phils. We're talking Eagles. We'll be right back.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Free agency has quieted down. I'm Sean Rodman, and this update is brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. Free agency may be quieting down, but the NFL draft is right around the corner. The Eagles currently have 8 draft picks this year, and ESPN's Tim McManus joined the best show ever yesterday, and he believes the Eagles may not stay at 32.
They'll look to move up a few spots if they see that a quarterback is, a team wants to come in at 32, they can move back. So as we know with Roseman, options are on the table. He is not averse to trading. He's about as active GM when it comes to that.
Opening day for the Phils, less than a week away. The Phillies will head to D.C. to start the season to take on the Nationals next Thursday, and the Sixers are back in action tonight in San Antonio. It will be the team's 4th game on this 6-game road trip. You can listen to the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Pre-game coverage begins at 7:50. And this update is also brought to you by Worldwide Stereo. Trade in your used audio and video gear with Worldwide Stereo's new trade-in program. Get the best possible trade-in allowance on new equipment. Visit worldwidestereo.com/upgrade or stop in-store to find out what your gear is worth. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
On lunchtime on this Friday, March Madness. Doesn't get much better than this. And then you got the Phillies starting in less than a week. When you don't have the NFL, at least you got some other things to look forward to with March Madness and the Fighting Phils.
Is that what you keep telling yourself?
That's what I keep telling myself, at least. But there's something else you could look forward to, Ray.
What's that?
You could have a nice day at the Arnold's Family Fun Center.
I've had plenty of nice days.
I know you have, but our listeners could, because the Fanatic deal of the week this week is a good one. You can get two $50 point cards for the price of one to Arnold's Family Fun Center in Oaks, PA. Enjoy go-karts, mini golf, bowling, and more. Action-packed excitement for all ages at Arnold's. You can get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. Now, sometimes we come on there and, well, Arnold's is a great place, and you've never been there. Ray grew up there. So how awesome is Arnold?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I think I still hold a lot of go-kart records there. I think probably my arcade records have fallen at the time. Mini golf I had done there. I became pretty good at that course. And obviously the bowling. When bowling went in, like, I think you guys thought I was doing a bit the other day when I was like, that was big for our town. That was huge. that was a big deal. When Arnold's got bowling, a whole new world opened up of possibilities for you to spend your afternoon.
You a good bowler?
I'm all right. Like, for a guy who doesn't
what's the best you ever did?
Somewhere in the mid-100s.
For some reason, this is going to be right on brand for me. I know I'm going to get killed for saying this. I'll bowl like once every couple years, but whenever I do, I'm pretty damn good.
All right, I hate you. Well, let's go. You know what? I want us to do.
I'm pretty damn good,
Can we, like, petition? I understand it's a little bit out of the way for you.
Well, a little bowling competition at Arnold's?
I would love to do, like, I've always wanted to do a show back near where I'm from. I have not done one that way. Whether, Arnold's is the ideal one here, because then we could do the whole bowling competition. We could do a go-kart competition.
On-location show at Arnold's. We'll talk to sales and see if we can make that happen.
We do a whole, like, a competition day. Like, you think you're great at everything,
Look, I've actually bowled higher than 200 in my life.
That's great. The pressure of it being on the air might change that.
I know. People are killing me in the YouTube chat. But you're listening to the WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities.
I actually went bowling a couple weeks ago.
Yes,
it was a nice little bowling bar combination.
I haven't bowled in a long time.
I'll tell you, the second game, much worse than the first game. I got a couple in me, and I was not able to throw it where I wanted to the way I was in the first game.
Do you get the curve on the ball?
Oh, God, you're one of those.
Oh, I get the curve and everything going, dude.
The biggest tryhard ever. You know that?
I'm like Roy Munson. You know the movie or no? You ever see Kingpin?
Who?
You ever see Kingpin?
No.
Oh, that's, as I like to say, great movie.
Great movie. Oh, great movie.
Great movie.
Bill's never met a movie that's not great.
Woody Harrelson, Bill Murray. Bill Murray's character is great in that.
All right, actually, that sounds like Bill Murray. I'll go check it out.
No, but
I'll add it to the list.
I'm a decent bowler. But we heard earlier from Devontae Smith, and he was ranking quarterbacks. He said there's a big five, not a big four. So along those lines, I saw an interesting article where Bryant McFadden, who was a defensive back, won 2 Super Bowls with the Pittsburgh Steelers. CBS asked him to rank his top 5 wide receiver duos in the National Football League. And like I said, I know some people hate lists, but sometimes they're fun. So this was a fun one, especially because it's got the Eagles ranked pretty high. Ray, where would you rank, before I tell you where a 2-time Super Bowl champ ranked A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, where would you rank them in terms of wide receiver duos in the entire league?
Off the dome, 1.
See, that's high, in my opinion. They're great. Don't get me wrong. Great duo. I would not rank them number 1.
This offseason movement, would that change my rankings at all? Maybe potentially, but...
Well, look, when you say the offseason movement, Bryant McFadden ranked at number 5 Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. And that's really the offseason movement. I mean, you're not moving the Deebo Samuel moving to the Commanders.
No, that didn't do
You're not doing anything there.
Metcalf and Pickens. Pickens had a horrible end of the season.
I don't know how those two are going to coexist. But here's his list, and I actually think this is a pretty accurate list. He's got Nacua and Adams at number 5 with the Rams. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams, number 4 with the Lions.
All right.
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, number 3 with the Dolphins. He's got the Eagles, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith at number 2, and I agree with his number 1. As much as it pains me, I'd love to give it to A.J. and Devontae, and I think you're going to agree when you hear it. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in Cincinnati. Now you think you'd still put A.J. and Devontae?
I don't know. Like, I love. Yeah, I guess they should be number 1. They were the two I was going back and forth with in my head. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and A.J. and Devontae. I guess when you talk about production, and you look at what they've had to carry in terms of the load of that offense, I probably would have to give them the nod. So 2 is probably the correct ranking here.
Yeah, look, it's
justifiable. I'm not putting Waddle and Hill over them. I know they've been held back by just the quarterback situation, but Amon-Ra and Jameson are going to be a fun one to watch. See if they rise up any further here.
Yeah,
but I'll give 2. I'll feel good.
Well, here's the thing. Right now, you're coming off of a season, and I get it was by design, but you're coming off of a season where the Eagles had the 29th ranked passing offense. So as amazing as these two are, and I know it was by design, you had Saquon Barkley. The reason I'm putting Higgins and Jamar Chase above them is
they have more to carry.
More yards. They carried the load more.
This was interesting. Neil in the YouTube chat throwing Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison in the top 5.
Surprisingly, they didn't make the top 5.
Was there any honorable mentions here? They just
let me see.
Top 5.
You know, I would probably put. That's a good call by Neil, because I would probably put them above. I may even put them above Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams. Amon-Ra St. Brown's is great, but Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams.
I could put him above those 2.
Yeah, does Devontae Adams have anything left? But yeah, there's nothing about the Vikings, man. That's a good call by Neil, because I like Jordan Addison.
I do too. And obviously, it's really hard not to like Justin Jefferson. Considering he just got Sam Darnold $1 billion.
Who did? Justin Jefferson, you think, got him? I think it's also Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell, man. It's like every quarterback that plays for him then gets a huge payday. Kirk Cousins.
Has Carson signed a contract yet?
Who?
Wentz?
He has not.
What are you thinking? You want to bring him here?
No, not. Yeah, actually, let's line him up on the phone. Would you bring Carson Wentz back as the backup here to Jalen Hurts? 610-63.
Stop. No. It's amazing the fall from grace, but apparently him and the Cleveland Browns have mutual interest.
Oh.
Yeah.
Kenny and Carson. Woo, have fun.
By the way,
I just meant for the Vikings, in terms of career rehabilitation.
Save his career.
If they don't end up with Rodgers, they bring him in to back up McCarthy. And
I would think if I'm other people in the National Football League, the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs had Carson Wentz on their team all season, and as good as Andy Reid is with quarterbacks, that he was completely okay with letting Carson Wentz walk out the door and not keeping him as a backup kind of tells me everything I need to know that Carson Wentz is done. Not that you didn't already know it, but this would kind of just be the final straw. By the way, our man Mikey Miss weighed in. Nothing about this. Nothing about what we're talking about. Only to brag about Penn State wrestling. So Mikey Miss just sends me a tweet that Penn State wrestling finished day 1 of the NCAA championships. You ready for this? 20-0 with all 10 wrestlers headed to the quarterfinals. Dominant. So that's coming from Mike. So even though he's under the weather, when he has an opportunity to brag about the Nittany Lions, he's going to do it. Ray has no response.
I'm tremendously moved.
He's tremendously moved. But you know what may move you? We're a little delayed with it, but coming up next, Sean Rodman is going to take a shot at the news at noon in front of the master, Ray Dunn. So keep it here. News at noon coming up next.
We want to hear from you. So text us at 610-632-
when you're sitting in here. No Mike Missanelli today, so Ray Dunn slid into the host chair.
You act like I eat while I'm sitting in there.
Well, if there's free food, I know you run to the kitchen to grab it.
Well, we haven't gotten an email, so.
Did you see what I had just now?
I saw. Trust me.
Had my Kind bar.
Kind bar.
Although I'm out of my normal Kind bar, so I had to switch to this like breakfast protein Kind bar, but it'll make do.
Yeah, breakfast, but what's different? Breakfast protein versus regular protein.
The regular Kind bar I got has 12 grams of protein. This one only has 8. So, yeah, I'm all messed up. Dude.
Oh, no.
I'm all messed up.
Oh, goodness.
But
That's why that shirt looks loose on you.
We got more important things to do right now because our Sean Rodman is about to take a shot at the news at noon.
There's a whole lot going on in this world. It's time to catch up. Here's the news at noon. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
What do we got, Sean?
All right, let's start off in the basketball world. Brandon Jennings was recently live on a Twitch stream and challenged multiple former NBA players to 1v1s. Well, Lou Will, our former Sixer Lou Williams, responded on the show Run It Back on FanDuel TV, and this is the interaction between the two of them.
Jeff Teague, I want to play Ty Loss, and I want to play Lou Will. Hey, what did you just do?
Lou Will, bro. Lou Will?
Just okay. He wants to play. When is that happening?
That's what I got to do.
I don't know, but you're on his mind.
No, listen, I love this. I love competitive spirit.
And Lou will.
This is why we're all relevant. You know, we're all basketball players. We're all competitive people. I love it. But BJ, if you think for one moment you're going to wake up and challenge me and think I'm not going to respond, I'm down to do it whenever, wherever, whatever. Line it up.
Let's go.
Let's get some straight.
So is this going to happen? And wait, who was it to challenge Lou Williams?
Brandon Jennings.
I hope it happens.
What do you think will be more watched? That or you and me in bowling at Arnold's?
Oh, that's going to be close. Definitely close. You're definitely the Brandon Jennings in this scenario. I'm definitely Lou Will in this scenario. I would probably go with their 101, and I'm definitely going with Lou Will by a landslide in this. I don't think this one, like Brandon Jennings might get some buckets on him, but like this is Lou Will's competition to win in my eyes. I don't know why you would challenge Lou Will. There's not a lot of people that should wake up in the morning and be like, you know what? I should challenge Lou Will to 101.
Well, why Lou Williams? Like, where did that even come from?
I don't. Was he upset with the? Because I know he was calling out people from his draft class, but they're not from the same draft class. So I don't know where he would get the idea to call out Lou Will.
Did they play at all on the same team at any point?
No, I don't think they had any overlap.
I don't think they did.
Yeah, because
being in the NBA at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a dumb idea. If you're listening right now, Brandon Jennings, and I know you are, we talk constantly. This is one of your worst ideas. Don't do it. I implore you. Do not do it. Lou Williams will cook you.
What else you got, Sean?
All right, next up, well, we've heard NFL players grunting and growling before and make all kinds of noises when they're on the field. Not anywhere else, Ray. Devontae Smith was on Carmelo Anthony's podcast, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, like we heard earlier, and he says one Eagles growled during an Eagles-Giants game at MetLife Stadium earlier this season.
With Saquon, he be over to growling. So when he growling,
growls?
Like he in that mode. When he go to growling, whole different animal, man. And when he went to growling, he ran the dude over. It was just like, okay. He was just out there talking like, keep giving it to me. Keep giving the ball. Keep giving the ball. Like, yeah, this is going to be one of them ones.
Yeah.
So then when he was like, he didn't want to get the record. I'm like, you did all that huffing and puffing to get here. Now you don't want to get the record.
It was classy. You know what I mean? Very classic.
To me, Saquon the best it is, man.
Wait, was that? Did you say Saquon's the best there is?
Yeah.
Dude, I knew that I was going to like Saquon Barkley when the Eagles signed him. I didn't know I was going to love Saquon Barkley. Like everything about him this season. It wasn't only how well he played on the field, but all these mic'd ups that you see, and now you hear Smitty talk about him growling in the huddle saying, just keep feeding me. I love everything about this guy, man.
I do. I really do. It's amazing the way he's won me over from they shouldn't pay a running back to this man deserves every penny and he's underpaid even when they give him this new extension, and maybe they should build a statue of him, not just out in front of the stadium, but probably just like in Center City. Like probably right in front of City Hall.
You're asking for a statue already for Saquon?
Yeah, City Hall statue. I'm not talking, not down South Philly. I want it right there at City Hall.
Before Sirianni?
For sure, before Sirianni.
Oh, man.
Sirianni needed Saquon.
Oh,
Sirianni's a Saquon merchant.
It is pretty wild, though, that
was parody.
Doug Peterson and Nick Foles have a statue.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed that? You look back, history of the franchise in recent memory. No Andy Reid statues, no Donovan McNabb statues, no B-Doc, Doug P, and Nick Foles. But it is an iconic moment.
The iconic moment. My buddy always used to joke about this. There are two athletes in the history of sports that have had statues while they're actively playing for their teams at their stadium. Michael Jordan and Nick Foles.
That's right, because that got rolled out before the 2018 season. Oh, man. All right, what else you got, Sean?
Last up now, I know we've had talk on this station about the tush push, and now that rule changes have been in question at the NFL owners meeting this week, the tush push is a hot topic. Today on Get Up's ESPN's Bart Scott had a suggestion on the tush push rule change for the defense.
And what makes the tush push unfair is because you have one side that gets to push not once, not twice, but 3 times. And on the other side, as a linebacker, I can't push my fat daddy right here. What would be the equivalent of this is if the defense had their version of a tush push. Defensive guys could do this all day.
All right, so D1
centers are snapping.
Yeah, and he's the defense. Okay.
Imagine if I have Jalen Carter right here. Damon Woody has to snap the ball and get his hand up to block him, but he gets a jetpack on the back, and I push him back. He's going to get it, and you're never going to be able to get a playoff. If we want to have a tush push, I should be able to push my guy on the other side.
Wait, can you not? Why can't the linebacker line up behind the defensive tackle and push back? There's no rule that prevents that.
No, but Bart Scott wants it to be emphasized.
Like on field goals and things, you can't line up over the center, but on the tush push play, there's no reason why you can't come from behind your defensive tackle and push forward.
Yeah, I don't know.
Am I missing something?
I don't know. Maybe we missed something in the rules. You're the resident football guy amongst us. I kind of figured if you don't think there's a rule there,
I don't believe that there is a rule. See, the thing is, not only is that not going to stop the tush push, he's leaving out the fact that it's all about who gets lower too. Like what makes the tush push so effective is that Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, whoever that right guard's going to be. Last year it was Mekhi Becton. They're getting low enough, too, that they're getting movement. And then when you have Jalen Hurts being pushed from behind, that's why he's able to pick up that yard. Actually, I saw a stat the other day. And thanks, Sean. Good job. Good job on the news at noon. But Ray's the judge. What do you think? Did he do it
a
right?
solid job. A solid job. I mean, listen, it's tough
I know this
to
is
replace a
coming
legend, but, you stepped in there and did adequately, and I appreciate that.
I appreciate
a good
the kind
job.
words.
A good job.
Good job,
I'll take
Sean.
it from you.
So listen to this. I saw this stat the other day. In the last 3 seasons, the most first downs using the tush push. Now, no shocker, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, but I couldn't get over about how many more first downs they got. In the last 3 years, the Eagles have had 92 first downs on the tush push.
Actually feels low for some reason.
Coming in at number 2, the Buffalo Bills, 50. And then third, the Chicago Bears with only 14. So think about the difference between where the Eagles are with 92 first downs in the last 3 years using the tush push to third place, 14. But this is why I keep saying, if it's such an unstoppable play, just figure out how to do it.
The Bears?
The Bears.
Really?
14 they've had.
They figured out how to do it.
Well, do you think that's figuring it out in the last? Remember, they had Justin
Also,
Fields, too.
Sean McDermott. You're a fraud.
Oh, yeah, he's a fraud. He is. But he's a defensive guy. So you got to look. A lot of these defensive head coaches.
You can't be over 50 times using it to get a first down and somehow have a problem with it. You're not even in the same conference.
Yeah, it's
clown.
All right, well, listen, coming up, we all know March Madness had just tipped off. Baylor, Mississippi State are going right now. It's early. It's 5-4 Mississippi State. But yesterday, we had our handicapper, Jamie Heath, from VegasMistake.com come on. And he predicted a win by Michigan. Even though a lot of people were going UC San Diego, well, Michigan won and they covered. So he's 1 for 1. He's going to be coming up to give us another play of the day for the NCAA tournament. So you're not going to want to miss that. We'll be right back.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Free agency has quieted down. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. Free agency may be quieting down, but the NFL draft is right around the corner. The Eagles currently have 8 draft picks this year, I should say. And ESPN's Tim McManus joined the best show ever yesterday, and he believes the Eagles may not stay at 32.
They'll look to move up a few spots if they see that a quarterback is, a team wants to come in at 32. They can move back. So as we know, with Roseman, options are on the table. He is not averse to trading. He's about as active GM when it comes to that.
We still have a month until the NFL draft. The first round begins on April 24th. Opening day, though, for the Phillies is less than a week away. The Phillies will head to D.C. to start the season, take on the Nationals next Thursday. And the Sixers are back in action tonight in San Antonio. It will be the team's 4th game on a 6-game road trip. You can listen to the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Pre-game coverage begins at 7:50. This update is brought to you by the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety. Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Drive high, get a DUI. A message from the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia Sports.
Little Kendrick Lamar for Ray Dunn today.
Feel good.
Sitting in the host chair with Mikey Miss a little bit under the weather.
You could use a little humility. Be humble, a little bit more humble.
Yeah, maybe I need to listen to the words. But I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who told their employer that they were sick today just so that they could sit home and watch the NCAA tournament unfold. But Ray Dunn said if you did that yesterday, you were probably disappointed. Ray was a little bit disappointed in the slate of games yesterday.
The afternoon. I thought the evening was good. The afternoon left a little bit to be desired. The Clemson comeback was cool. Again, if you were on that side of it. I was on, the McNeese upset side of it, so I felt like it was solid.
Did you have McNeese in your bracket?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's a great call by you.
Yeah, well, don't look at the rest of the bracket because the rest of it's crap.
Now, I know for a fact that you had the other 12 seed, UC San Diego,
brutal,
beating Michigan.
I'm an idiot.
Well, you know who's not an idiot? Our prognosticator, Jamie Heath from VegasMistake.com, who's going to be joining us now. Because, Jamie, you were all over Michigan yesterday, even though a lot of money was coming in on UC San Diego. Jamie Heath was on the right side of that one. What's up, Jamie?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Yes, I was. I happened to be on Michigan, and I ended up having to sweat that one out because Michigan in the second half wanted to give it up. But, yes, they did come through. I also gave out Drake to you people yesterday. I said you wanted a game that was going to be an upset possibility, and I said Drake. Remember, here at VegasMistake.com, we look for the mistakes, and that was a mistake. Okay, Missouri is an SEC team. SEC teams are getting way too much respect. I said to you, Drake's a slowdown type team. They eat up the whole entire shot clock, and I don't know if anyone watched the game. They got a kid by the name of Benton Sturts, I believe his name is. Kid's a great player that no one knew about going into that game, and you saw what they did yesterday to Missouri. They beat them outright.
Yeah, Sturts dropped 21 points yesterday. You were all over it. I love your approach, too. So your website's called VegasMistake.com because you look for those Vegas mistakes, which I love. And people can get in touch with you not only through your website, but at 866-441-2711. Now, you were on fire yesterday. You going to keep that going today?
1,000%. We're going to keep it going today. I'm going to, just like I did yesterday, I'm going to give you out a free game today that I absolutely love, just like the Michigan game. Hopefully, we don't have to sweat it out at the end like we did in the Michigan game.
Hey, a win's a win, though, brother.
Mary's. What was that?
I said a win's a win. I know you sweated it out, but you still covered with Michigan.
This is true, and if you cover by 1 or by 50, you don't get paid anymore, I don't believe. So, yes, correct. So, yes, we did win, and I'm on St. Mary's today over Vanderbilt, another SEC team. Very similar type of game as the Drake game. St. Mary's plays that slow-down, methodical game, a very experienced veteran squad coached by a guy named Randy Bennett, who's been around a long, long time, who always ends up playing Gonzaga in the championship game. I know he lost this year because his team couldn't hit one three-pointer in that game, but he did beat Gonzaga twice this year in the regular season. You saw what Gonzaga did to another SEC team yesterday in Georgia. They demolished them. I see the same exact thing happening today with St. Mary's over Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, yes, they did get into the tournament. 14 SEC teams got in. Some of them are average at best. I know Vanderbilt started the year like a house on fire, but towards the end they started to lose a bunch of games. I see St. Mary's dominating this game. This should be a laugher.
Wow, a laugher. We're talking to Jamie Heath from VegasMistake.com. You can get in touch with him at 866-441-2711. So you're saying St. Mary's. Let's make sure people don't confuse this with Mount St. Mary's, who's a 32.5-point dog to Duke. I don't think you're picking them as an upset.
No, I'm not picking them as an upset. I did have Mount St. Mary's the other night over American. They won outright. They went wire to wire the other night. But no, I'm not picking that. Mount St. Mary's to upset Duke. They could cover the game for all I know. I mean, I don't know what Flagg's status is for Duke. He's probably maybe going to play half a game. He might not even have to play any of the game. Duke's going to win that game handily, I'm sure. But again, I'm on St. Mary's. St. Mary's minus the 4 over Vanderbilt. That is the play. And by the way, folks, Vegas, go to VegasMistake.com or call 866-441-2711. I'm doing another promotion today. It's $19.99 to come on board today. you'll get my very best bet on the card today. Again, VegasMistake.com. What we solely do, is find the mistakes that Vegas makes. Again, 32 games in the last 2 days. They can't be right on the spread on any of these games or the total. There's a bunch of games today, and we found one that Vegas is off by at least 3 or 4 points.
Wow. Well, I'm going to actually jump on with you. St. Mary's -4 over Vanderbilt, and you're predicting it's going to be even more than that. So I love it. St. Mary's. Again, Jamie Heath.
I see them winning by double digits.
Wow. So Jamie Heath, VegasMistake.com, 866-441-2711. Keep riding these out, brother. We're following what you're saying. Hopefully we'll talk again next week.
Yes, next Thursday for sure. Hopefully we could brag about St. Mary's crushing Vanderbilt.
All right. Thanks again, Jamie. So this is good stuff. So Jamie Heath, VegasMistake.com. You can get in touch with him at 866-441-2711. So, Ray, he was all over Michigan yesterday, and now he's all over St. Mary's. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I got to go look. I mean, I can't fix the bracket now. So now it's just about dreading the fact that I'm on the other side of someone that has proven to be smarter than me with regards to this, and someone that you all should follow. So what? We're looking. Can't even find them in the quadrant here. Where am I looking here?
What, you looking for St. Mary's?
St. Mary's. Don't confuse the people.
Not to be confused with Mount St. Mary's.
Oh, guess who's got St. Mary's?
You have them?
That's right.
Over Vandy.
Jamie and I, lockstep. That's a lock right there. I don't think I can use that language, actually. So that's a great pick there.
All right, so to play a game that Mikey Miss loves to play all the time, can you give me 3 from St. Mary's?
Mary, Joseph, Jesus.
Yeah, I'm just on St. Mary's website trying to think. I don't know if I know any St. Mary's players.
I feel like St. Mary's would be one of those schools where, like, it's like, oh, yeah, that person went to St. Mary's. All right, here we go.
What do you got?
St. Mary's College of California. Notable alum here. Okay.
Anybody we recognize?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Athletics. Let's see. Athletics. Oh, Patty Mills. How about Patty Mills? There you go.
There we go.
That's one you recognize. Yeah.
Yeah, you got nothing.
No. You could have something here. Anthony Gosselin, pitcher. Recognize that one. There's 2. And Matthew Dellavedova. How could you not recognize that?
There we go.
Corbin Burns went there. All right.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, let's show some respect to the old St. Mary's.
Yeah, not a huge fan of Corbin Burns this year.
Why?
He's on the Diamondbacks now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, we don't like that. We don't like that as another National League team.
Yeah,
man.
I don't like it being in the National League, but it's not like I don't
Come
like
on
the
now.
guy anymore. The guy pitches well.
Dude, you're wearing the powder blue Phillies jacket today.
Yeah, I know. The Diamondbacks gave me one of the worst days of my life. I'm aware. I was there at Game 7.
I know.
You weren't at the station. You don't even know the pain and suffering I went through that night.
I know. And Zach Gallen, Bishop Eustace grad.
Yeah. You
Diamondback.
basically did this to us. This is your fault.
I may have. Well, look, coming up next, we can continue with the Phillies conversation a little bit, but I want to talk about something else with the Eagles. Because with Brandon Graham retiring, I've seen some people, articles have been written, some people on social media really worried about where the leadership's going to come from. And I have a question for Ray. Now that Brandon Graham has retired, I want to see if Ray can give me all of the longest tenured Philly athletes right now. No cheating, Ray. So we'll have a leadership conversation, but we'll also take a look at who are the longest tenured Philadelphia athletes right now after Brandon Graham calls it quits. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Andrew Salciunas.
I don't like Kyle Schwarber batting.
So we're going to talk about now that Brandon Graham has retired, who are the longest tenured Philadelphia athletes, not just limited to the Eagles. But before we do, let me tell you, this 12 o'clock hour is brought to you by Service First HVAC. They're offering 0% financing for 48 months, rebates and tax credits up to $4,300 when purchasing a heating and cooling system. Learn more at servicefirsthvac.com. And right now's the time, man. You want to get your air conditioning and you want to make sure that thing is working.
Yeah, you do.
You don't want to be worried about it in the dog days of summer. Get it done now. All right, so Brandon Graham is going to go down in history playing the most seasons and the most games ever in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform.
Sounds about right.
But now we're going to test Ray's knowledge. Because I want you to give me, I could go, actually looking at an article on Philly Voice. So they list 12 athletes who are now the longest tenured in the city. But I'm only going to ask you for 5 of the 12.
5 of the 12.
5 of the 12. Well, let's see what you could do.
All right. So I'm going to start. I'll start with 2 Eagles, Lane Johnson and Jake Elliott.
So Lane Johnson, second right now.
Okay.
With 12 seasons, dating all the way back to 2013. Jake Elliott is number 6 with 8 seasons. So pretty good.
All right. Joel Embiid is definitely on this list.
Joel Embiid is on this list. And I thought that one was going to cause some problems. He's actually 4th right now. 9 seasons with the Sixers since 2016, but he was drafted all the way back in 2014. So good job, Ray.
All right.
2 more you need.
I'm going to go in your neck of the woods here. All right. Billy Blue Line. Let's go Travis Konechny and Sean Couturier.
Nailed it, Ray. So Travis Konechny is 5th right now in the city with 9 seasons. And Sean Couturier, believe it or not, is currently the longest tenured Philadelphia athlete because he came to the Flyers in 2011.
Can I try and run the table?
Keep him going, dude.
All right, yeah. I'm going to try and run the table here. Let's go a couple Phillies here. Let's knock Aaron Nola off the list.
Number 3, Aaron Nola.
JT
Realmuto also on the list. He is number 12.
Number 12. Ooh.
Tied with another Philly with 7 seasons.
Harper.
And Harper, correct.
Okay, so Harper, JT, Nola. All right, so let's go back. Let's go back to...
There's another Philly you missed.
Another Philly I missed. Trying to think of this on the fly here. Am I that dumb? Is it Zach Wheeler?
It is not Zach Wheeler. It is a pitcher. It is a pitcher, but it's not Zach Wheeler.
Not Zach Wheeler. It's a pitcher.
A guy that we're a little worried about right now.
Oh, Ranger?
Ranger.
Wow, yeah, that's missed by me on there. All right.
Ranger Danger, 8 seasons going back to 2018. He debuted in July of 2018.
I always forget that he was managed by Cap.
Well, because it took until like 2021 where he actually became a regular.
Yeah, but I should know that. That's bad by me. All right, so Ranger was on there. So I have 9 of the 12.
Yeah, so number 1, Couturier with 13. Lane Johnson, you got with 12. Aaron Nola, number 3. Joel Embiid, number 4. Travis Konechny, number 5. Jake Elliott, number 6. Number 7 is a Flyer that I don't think you would ever get. 8 seasons with the Flyers dating back to 2017.
8 seasons with the Flyers dating back to 2017.
Defenseman.
I don't think I'm going to get it.
Travis Sanheim.
Oh, wow. That's a miss by me on there. All right, Sanheim.
Number 8, Ranger Suarez. Number 9 is a Philadelphia Eagle that may or may not be here when the season starts.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert, correct.
So Goddard, I thought might pop up on this list.
Number 10 is another Eagle.
28. He also might not be here.
No,
this guy
not
under contract. Not under contract. Because I was thinking of Vontae, but he's not technically under contract, so I guess he can't count.
Yeah,
because he's from the same draft class as.
This one's hard too because he was drafted in 2018, but he didn't start playing until 2020. That's Jordan Mailata.
Oh, all right.
Number 10, Bryce Harper, number 11, and JT Realmuto, number 12.
My apologies to Travis Sanheim.
So really, an end of an era with Brandon Graham retiring because you've lost now in the last 2 seasons. Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, and now Brandon Graham. And there was an interesting article today. Actually, it was 2 days ago. I read it today. By Reuben Frank. And he says, in the Eagles' first 91 seasons, they never had one player who played 170 games in an Eagles uniform, made a Pro Bowl, and never played for another team. So in 91 years, 91 seasons, they never had one. Cox, Kelsey, and BG, all three of them did it, which is wild.
I don't know if we appreciate enough just how rare what we just witnessed happen was.
But that's why when I put it, like when Reuben Frank puts it in those terms, it's those three guys that you just lost over the last 2 years, they did something that no other player ever did in 91 seasons.
Right, and it's rare to the rest of the league, too. I think it might have been Sealski put out a column about just like to do what Brandon Graham did is incredibly rare in the NFL. And to do now what you have basically those three guys do for your organization is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, and it's a testament to them. Like they didn't retire as non-productive players. Like they retired with productivity still happening at their end of their career. There were not thank you contracts given out to them. They were contracts that they legitimately earned all the way up until the moment they retired.
It really is. It's incredible. It really is. I'm looking at some of these other things he puts in this article, Reuben Frank. So consider this. Until Kelsey, Cox, and Graham, not one player in franchise history had played 170 games, Eagles uniform, spent their entire career here, made a Pro Bowl. And then you got Cox played 188, Kelsey played 193, BG played 206. Only our good friend Chuck Benderek. All right, for those who maybe don't tune in, this is a running joke that I say his name wrong. We know it's Bendarek. And Bobby Watson in the 50s and Jerry Sizemore in the 70s and 80s even played 150. And as I mentioned Chuck Benderek, Ray, as he tries to get up, you better show some respect for our man Chuck Benderek. Today is actually the...
You should pronounce his name right to show some respect.
I really should today.
I started playing the music for him.
Do you know that today is the 10-year anniversary of Chuck Benderek's death? So, 10 years Concrete Charlie passed away. Ray, say his name.
Bednarik?
Bednarik. Chuck Benderek.
Bednarik.
Benderek.
Bednarik.
I don't know why.
Now you've got me saying it wrong because I have to focus so much on trying to teach you how to speak.
Yeah, 10 years ago for Concrete Charlie. But here's what I want to talk about coming up, because as we just went through what these three guys, Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, meant to this organization, there are some who are concerned now about a lack of leadership because you also lost Darius Slay. You traded away Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So I want to have a conversation on the other side about who you think may step up to lead this defense. I think the offense is going to be fine, but who may be some candidates to be the leaders of that defense? We'll get into it all coming up next.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Free agency has quieted down. I'm Sean Rodman, and this update is brought to you by Family Jewelers. Getting engaged? Get her a ring that'll light her eyes up. See Angelo and the team at Family & Company Jewelers on Route 70 in Marlton, South Jersey's diamond destination. The Eagles currently have 8 draft picks this year, with the draft right around the corner, and ESPN's Tim McManus joined the best show ever yesterday, and he believes the Eagles may not stay at 32.
They'll look to move up a few spots if they see that a quarterback is, team wants to come in at 32, they can move back. So as we know with Roseman, options are on the table. He is not averse to trading. He's about as active GM when it comes to that.
Opening day for the Phils is less than a week away. The Phillies will head to D.C. to start the season to take on the Nationals next Thursday, and the Sixers are back in action in San Antonio tonight. It will be the team's 4th game on this 6-game road trip. You'll be able to listen to the game on 97.5 The Fanatic. Pre-game coverage begins at 7:50. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the 76ers and Flyers. This update is also brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. This is 97.5 The Fanatic, and you can listen on 97.5thefanatic.com.
Ricky Batalico.
Why can't you be that team that gets that stroke of luck?
Little boy band Friday, Ray.
That's not going to be a thing. Stop trying to make that a
Boy
thing.
band Friday is a thing.
It's not a thing. It will never be a thing.
Come on, Ray. Get those moves going.
I got to save my moves. Got a weekend in front of me, Bill.
Happy Friday, everybody. March Madness. What do you think people are more excited about? March Madness or Boy Band Fridays?
March Madness. Because Boy Band Friday is not a thing and will never become a thing.
Oh. I'm going to make it a thing. I'm going to talk to Mike. Mike will be on board with it, don't you think? Mike's he's a big boy band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Big boy band supporter.
I think we have 100 songs in that rotator. That might be the only song from a boy band, and I can see his emotion just drop every time that song comes on.
Well, that's a violation in of itself, that the only song we have in there is that one.
You are the only reason that stayed in that rotator. Like, we went through some new songs. We had some new songs recently. I kept that in there strictly because I know it makes you happy.
Well, thank you.
So for all the people out there that say, oh, Ray doesn't like Bill. Why doesn't Ray like Bill? It's so tough to listen to because Ray doesn't like Bill. Shut up.
Oh.
I give him his boy band music, all right?
Look at Ray. Yeah, it is funny.
I got an hour until the weekend.
That people think that people think that you hate me. I think it's funny.
Well, funny's not the word I would use.
Accurate? So
I've been advised not to comment further by our corporate team. They think it's bad for the ratings if I speak too much about you.
All right.
So they think it could be detrimental to the show's dynamic and potentially detrimental to your
I think
career.
it tells you more about you and how you come off. You're very angry, Ray.
I'm a very happy person.
So
all the time.
Speaking of happy, did you see the Happy Gilmore 2 trailer? Very excited.
I did not. So I saw it came out, and I was going to watch it, and I never got a chance to watch it. Does it look good?
It does, and it's July, I think, is when it's going to. I think July 25th. Well, listen, we got a little bit of news here, and not huge news, and not confirmed, but apparently Avante Maddox's significant other posted a picture of him on her Instagram story, and it's him signing a contract with the Detroit Lions in front of a television screen that says "Welcome Avante" with the Lions logo. So we'll wait to get the official news from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or whoever's going to break it. But it's looking like Avante Maddox is going to sign with the Detroit Lions. And it's crazy because Avante Maddox's career here was just, unfortunately, injury-plagued. He was one of the better nickel corners in the NFL a couple years back. He just couldn't stay on the field. But he did make a big play in the Super Bowl.
He did. He had his nice redemptive moment there.
He did, and he gets a Super Bowl ring. We know how good of friends him and Dallas Goedert are, and both of them may be on their way out.
Former roommates.
But they were former roommates. I remember watching some. They were like playing Nerf guns and stuff in their house. Do you remember that whole thing?
I do remember that whole thing.
So
it's nice. Roommates in your 20s, it makes sense. I get it. They're NFL players, but it makes sense.
But
split the rent.
Detroit's trying to improve that defense because their defense, with all the injuries they sustained, I don't know about bringing in another injury-plagued guy like Avante Maddox. But
say it. You know you want to say it.
No, I'm not going to say anything about Dan Campbell today.
Just say it. For all of us. It'd be a lot easier if you just say it.
Yeah, he's probably like, Avante, welcome to Detroit, baby. That was Dan Campbell, by the way.
What was it? I thought you were just going to say, and all those guys are hurt because Dan Campbell works them too hard. He wants the blowouts. They play all 4 quarters.
You got to believe me, men. Everything I do is for you, men. I'm going to drive you into the ground, men.
We got any update on what Joe Shane's doing today?
No, but I do have an update for everyone. As you're listening to WPEN and WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. I don't want this to be about the Lions or the Giants today because it is Philly sports talk. So we were talking earlier about what the loss of Brandon Graham means, not only for the Eagles, but for the city of Philadelphia. And we were listing all of the longest tenured Philadelphia athletes now with BG retiring. Now, I got this list from Philly Voice, and we were looking at the 4 major sports of hockey, football, basketball, and baseball. But we were remiss in not mentioning the Philadelphia Union. And we had a couple people call. We had a couple people text. Even our own Matt Menarek was not happy.
I can't read his text out on the air. Not FCC compliant.
Bleep it out. What did Matt Menarek weigh in on?
This is...
What did he say? This is what?
BS.
Wow. So give us the name. Who would be the longest tenured from the Union?
Andre Blake, going in 12th season.
12 seasons.
But shout out to Union, man.
Union hooked us up with some great gear, man.
Hooked us up.
I got a nice jersey, Colorulo on the back with number 5.
I have to figure out when I'm getting down to a game soon. I haven't been out yet this year.
They're good this year, dude.
And they've had a great start this season. I'm excited.
They're good. But let's get back to the Eagles real quick, because I said there's a lot of people who are a little concerned about what the loss of BG may mean for this locker room. You were able to survive Jason Kelce 2 years ago and Fletcher Cox 2 years ago, but now you're losing Brandon Graham as well. And one of the last remaining guys from that era is Lane Johnson. And when Brandon Graham retired, Lane Johnson tweeted out a funny little video, and it was the video of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on the last episode where Will Smith's in the mansion in Bel-Air and all the furniture's gone and he's just looking around. So when Lane Johnson met with the media earlier this week, he was asked about that. And listen to Lane Johnson.
Hey, Lane, congratulations. You had the funny Fresh Prince tweet yesterday. I'm curious, do you think it will be lonely to be the last guy standing?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yeah, I mean, it'll be a different, a little bit different even with Kels gone this year. It'll be another piece, with BG, same way it was with Fletch. The good thing about it is I know that if they're not here in the building, they'll be close by. So, that's really what I'm looking forward to. I'm happy for these guys. They're making a new transition into something else. And, yeah, man, I'm very happy to be a part of their journey and getting to witness everything that they've achieved.
So that was Lane Johnson, and it is crazy when he looks around how different the locker room is now than when he first got here. And you're losing all these guys. And I said last summer, and I believe this still, I think sometimes we overvalue veteran leadership, Ray. Like last season, there was all those questions too. Oh, how are they going to replace what Jason Kelce meant? And how are they going to replace what Fletcher Cox meant? And I kept going back to, well, what did that veteran leadership do for you during the collapse in 2023? Because I think leadership is important, but it only carries you so far. You still have to be talented. And I also don't think it has to necessarily come from veterans. But when you look at the defense, specifically this season, upcoming, you did lose a ton of your leaders, whether they were veterans or not. You had Slay now out the door. You trade away Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You have Brandon Graham retiring. So I do think it's fair to ask the question, where does the leadership come from on the defensive side of the football this coming year? Now, for me, Ray, the first name that pops to my head, Zach Baun. Because, again, watching all these mic'd ups this year, it seems like Zach Baun not only grew as a player as the year progressed, but he also grew more as a leader. But he came in, it was the first year he was with the Eagles. He was only on a one-year deal. He was playing a position he's never really played before. I think now that he's signed to a longer contract, he's been here for a second year, he's shown that he can play the position, I think Zach Baun's going to be a major leader on that side of the ball.
He has to be. Hey, you're going to spend that much money on a linebacker to anchor that defense? With great money comes great responsibility. That's the new phrase here when it comes to spending in the salary cap of the NFL. You have to be a leader at this point. You have now learned the position. You know your role in this defense. You are one of the veterans, just by age, that has been in this league. Congratulations. You're one of the leaders here. You have to be now. And I think if you start to put that on other players, one of these Georgia guys who's now been around a little bit, Kobe Dean, can he lead while he's still banged up to start the season? Nolan Smith, can he lead to start the season? I know Slay went on there and talked for what felt like, it was only a 40-second clip, but it felt like he spent 2 hours on Reed Blankenship, the number of times he brought up his name. He said Blankenship at least 8 times within those 40 seconds. It was a little ridiculous. But, all right, Reed Blankenship, if that's what they think of you, you've got to be a leader this season. I think it starts with Baun, to be honest with you, just because he's got the contract because he had the season that he had. But I think probably, and Brandon Graham alluded to this, when you talk about that defensive front, it goes to Nolan Smith. That's his room now. You're in charge. Good luck. And for the secondary, I guess it is Blankenship. I mean, you're really young, really green out in that secondary.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can be a leader and be a younger guy. Like, I look at Quinyon Mitchell, and even though he's going to only be in his second season, I think he's a guy who could step up as a leader. Yeah, I think Cooper DeJean in his second season can step up as a leader. This is why I say I think veteran, quote-unquote, veteran leadership is overrated. I don't think you need to necessarily be the older guy to be able to lead a team.
No, I agree with that.
So that's why I think you're going to be able to see Quinyon and Cooper DeJean step up. But you're right, Reed Blankenship, there's a reason why Darius Slay spoke for a couple of minutes about him. He's already on the leadership council. You know, one of the guys that I think is a great leader, he just hasn't been able to stay on the field, and that's Nakobe Dean. Mm-hmm. And we don't know, is he going to be ready? But you make a good point with Reed. You talk about Zach Bond. When you say the Georgia guys, what about Nolan Smith?
Are you serious?
I was pulling the ADD on you.
I don't think you were.
I was. Right.
I don't think it, because you also brought up Dean there. I was about to say you just did what you did to Mike to me. You bring up Dean like I didn't say Dean, then you went to Nolan Smith.
I actually was listening to
I'm reading the YouTube chat too. All right, you can do both these things at once, Bill.
I wasn't actually reading the YouTube. I swear I did hear you. I'm only playing around.
What's going on? What's Bridget got going on right now?
It's not. It was
What's
Jeff
your dad
McClain.
got going on?
It was Jeff McClain. I wish Mike was here for this. Jeff McClain confirmed what I just reported earlier. Avonte Maddox has signed a 1-year contract with the Detroit Lions.
Oh, wow. Player we didn't think was going to be here is not going to be here. But that was so important to derail our conversation, Bill.
What do you think about Nolan Smith and Nakobe Dean as potentially being leaders on the defense?
Look at the time. Look at the time.
You think they could contribute?
I'm not even engaging with this conversation.
All right, look, coming up next.
That's it. I'm done for the day.
Let's stay with the Eagles here because I just asked you who may step up and be leaders. I also want to just take a look at where their needs still exist. I know it's a long off season. We've talked a lot about the moves that they've made and whether or not they've been underwhelming. I want to look at just as the draft is about a month away, what positions of need? Like if you're going to rank where you think the Eagles should go in the draft, all things being equal, what position would you like to see them add some players to? So we'll get into that coming up right after this.
Tyrone Johnson.
112 here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Happy Friday. Was trying to make it a boy band Friday, but Ray nixed that one. I don't know why Ray's laughing so hard over there.
This is I Made It, by the way. The song. Fantastic. Much better than anything the boy band's got going on. You know why I'm laughing.
What are you laughing at, Ray?
I know why you're laughing, too.
Oh.
What was
I saw that.
I forgot to turn my mic on when I did the little intro back, so Ray's
You can't
laughing
even
at
blame me for your mic being off.
I know. I forgot to hit the button. But a lot on the table today. We did a little Phillies talk to start the show. We've kind of changed gears a little bit. We're talking about the Eagles now. We were looking at their leadership or lack thereof on the defensive side of the football now with Brandon Graham and Darius Slay and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson leaving town, either voluntarily or involuntarily. But there's enough players on that side of the ball. Ray and I feel pretty confident. Guys like Zach Bond, Reed Blankenship, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, even the young players, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, they could step up and lead that defense. Not concerned about it. But there are people who are concerned about some of the personnel because Mike and I have gone back and forth on this. He's very underwhelmed with the moves that were made this offseason. Me, not as much. I think that when you had a team as dominant as the Eagles were, with a roster that was as dominant as the Eagles roster was, even if you couldn't keep everybody, you could still even take a little bit of a step back from a personnel perspective and still be the best team in the NFC. That's how good this team was last year with what they were able to accomplish, winning essentially 14 straight games when Jalen Hurts started and finished. They won 18 total. They dominated everybody in the playoffs after that close call with the Rams, as Ray likes to call it.
I mean, listen, they dominated the game, but to discount it not being close at the end is, I think, just kind of a fallacy by you. I want to say something real quick. I'm going to pull one of your cards that you usually say sitting in this chair.
Oh, boy.
You're not wrong when you're talking about the NFC and how talented they were. We do forget just how banged up that Lions team was. And now I'm not going to pretend like I've been incredibly tapped into every single move that the Lions have made this offseason, and I know their entire 53-man roster right now. But it was a little bit closer of a roster comparison for the two sides than they're just far and away the best team in the NFC. Like, if there's a gap for anyone in the NFC right now, the Lions were the closest one to closing that gap, for sure.
So, well, let's take a look at it then, right? Because when you talk about the roster for the Philadelphia Eagles, offensively, they really haven't lost that much. I know they lose their starting right guard in Mekhi Becton.
I'm cool with that.
Outside of that, they're bringing everybody back.
You're right.
Literally everybody. You still have Saquon Barkley. You still have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You still even have Jahan Dotson. Now, the big question on offense is, are you bringing Dallas Goedert back? Now, we've been hearing way too much that he's not going to be here next year for it not to be true. So I think we all agree Dallas Goedert's probably on his way out. It's just a matter of when.
Be a heck of a conversation to bring it back. Hey, man, we tried to send you through the entire league. Come on back now.
Well, the Phillies did it to Alec Boehm.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Right?
It definitely was an awkward conversation when they got down there to Clearwater.
I'm sure. But all right, let's take a look then. So with the moves that the Eagles have made, they made some under-the-radar moves, no big signings, a lot of low-risk, high-reward moves. With the draft coming up in about a month, not going to talk about specific players yet, but what position, when you look at this team, what position, either side of the football, do you look at that and say, you know what, I think that they are extremely light at that position. I'd like to see them add some competition there.
Safety?
It's a hard one to argue with. Now, they voluntarily made themselves fit at that position by trading away Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Yeah, because you got Reed Blankenship, which sometimes I think he's underrated by the fan base. Like, the Eagles franchise love Reed Blankenship. They've shown that. But I think the fan base sometimes underrates how good Reed Blankenship is. But even assuming that Reed Blankenship is a stud, who's your starting safety next to him? So you're right. Who is it?
That's assuming he's a stud, too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Even assuming, giving him every benefit of the doubt, I think he's a good player. I think he's above average player.
I don't think he is. I don't think he could be your top flight safety.
So then you're really concerned about the safety position.
Yeah. Concerned about the safety position. If you want to go down, the list here, what are you going to do at linebacker without Dean to start the season? Who is your second corner? And at edge rusher, you got a couple darts at the dartboard, but it's Nolan Smith and, hoping that what Jalen Hunt showed you was real. Hoping that Ojulari is going to be what he's shown you his entire career and is actually going to be on the field. And hoping that Uche has a season maybe not reminiscent of the one double-digit sack season that he had, but something close to that type of role where there's a lot of, and it's okay. Like I can hear myself spinning out talking about this. I'm going to calm myself down with I talked last year about this being a defense built on hope, and all our hopes and dreams came true. So I'm willing to give more of a benefit of the doubt this offseason, but we have seen this happen before after a Super Bowl run, a run to a Super Bowl at least, where the defense fell off. And not 100% of your moves are going to work out. I know the YouTube chat gave me a lot of problems a week or two ago when I said, 95% of last offseason things worked out, and I threw that number out there. It was pretty close to that. Can you hit like that again this year? And can you hit like that again this year when you're not going after the big names and you're really just trying to throw darts at a dartboard? I think it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and I think when you say that safety is their biggest need, I think the Philadelphia Eagles probably agree with you too, because there's a reason why that they were in on the Justin Reed conversation before he signed with the New Orleans Saints. And Justin Reed admitted as such as well, saying, hey, it was really close to me going to Philadelphia. They just couldn't make it work financially, and then he went to the New Orleans Saints. If they felt comfortable, if the Philadelphia Eagles felt comfortable with Sidney Brown and Tristan McCullum and whoever else they're going to be able to put in there, I know a lot of guys are excited about the other Georgia player they picked up. What's his name? I'm forgetting his name now.
Lewis
Sign? Yeah.
Yeah.
So people think about him too. If the Eagles felt comfortable with their safety position, there's no way that they would have been in on the Justin Reed conversation. But when we talk about the draft, could we really see them drafting a safety in the first round? I don't know if Howie Roseman's ever done that. I mean, he hadn't drafted a corner in the first round until this year, since you got to go all the way back to Lito Shepherd. So would they have really draft a safety? Maybe they would. Well, want to hear from you. Send us a text, 610-632-0975. A couple questions on the board as it pertains to the Eagles. Who do you think is going to lead this defense next year, number one? And when you look around at all the moves that have already been made, what position would you still say is a position of need for the Philadelphia Eagles? Now, we're talking about the safety. I got a couple others that I want to get into coming up next. We'll be right back.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Free agency has quieted down. I'm Sean Rodman, and this update is brought to you by Delaware County. Don't miss the spring job fair in Delaware County. It's Thursday, March 27th from 11 to 2 at the Springfield YMCA. More info at pacareerlink.delco.org or go on their Facebook page. Free agency may be quieting down, but the NFL draft is right around the corner. The Eagles currently have 8 picks this year in the draft. ESPN's Tim McManus joined the best show ever yesterday, and he believes the Eagles may not stay at 32.
They'll look to move up a few spots if they see that a quarterback is, a team wants to come in at 32, they can move back. So as we know with Roseman, options are on the table. He is not averse to trading. He's about as active GM when it comes to that.
And another longtime Eagle has officially left, according to Jeff McLean of Philadelphia Inquirer. Avonte Maddox has reportedly signed a 1-year deal with the Detroit Lions. Opening day for the Phillies is less than a week away. The Phillies will head to D.C. to start the season to take on the Nationals next Thursday. The Sixers are back in action tonight in San Antonio. It will be the team's 4th game of their 6-game road trip. You can listen to the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Pre-game coverage begins at 7:50. This update is also brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. That feeling of owning your first Mercedes-Benz is hard to believe, but it's real. From the leather stitching to the iconic design, every element of a Mercedes lives up to its reputation. See for yourself at your local dealer. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
from the 97.5 The Fanatic Knockout Tournament, which is going to take place Wednesday night, March 26th, down at the Wells Fargo Center. So you could be one to knock out one of the Fanatic hosts or producers, or you could win the whole damn thing for bragging rights and a spot in next year's event. So here's how to win. Listen weekdays for a keyword during each show. You got the morning show with Kincade and Salciunas. You got us, the Mike Missanelli show. You got the show coming up next, the best show ever. You take that keyword, you go to our contest page at 975thefanatic.com by the end of the day, and you could have a shot for 2 tickets to the game against the Wizards. But then the big thing is you walk down to the court and you get to play knockout with us. And all this is sponsored by Barlow Chevrolet in Delran. For honest pricing and dedicated service, go to Barlow Chevrolet in Delran. You can visit 975thefanatic.com for complete details. And reminder, today's keyword, basket. B-A-S-K-E-T. Basket. Anybody that knocks out Ray Dunn, I was going to say I was going to give him something, but I won't. I'll just shake your hand if you knock out Ray.
That's kind of lame.
What if I knock him out?
Yeah, I'll give you a nice handshake, Sean.
Wow.
To be honest with you, I don't want to see Ray. I want bragging rights from our show, though. So it'd be nice. Like, I have a feeling Mike's not going to participate. I feel like he's already starting the, I'm not going to be involved. I'm just going to MC it. So you and I may be the only hope to win this thing.
And I will be transparent with our audience. I have decided I think I am going to forego any bit of training, any bit of running before knockout, so there is no setback.
I got to shoot some hoops, dude. I haven't shot a basketball since last year's knockout.
Yeah, I got on the Leocoris floor before one of our games a couple weeks ago, put up a couple free throws. Was feeling pretty good. But again, it's when the adrenaline's going, and you're never, I have rhythm when I'm taking those free throws. You don't have rhythm when you're just being thrown the basketball and you're just trying to throw it up as quickly as you can. Like, I can't go through my free throw routine.
Yeah, it is. It's fast.
It's fast paced. I'll admit it, last year, I airballed the first one. I did. I was moving too fast. I was able to get the layup.
Now, that should be, it's not in our knockout tournament, but an airball should probably be an automatic out.
No, I would say that the airball is better than what, no offense to those of you who do it, but, like, there are people that just hit the side of the backboard. Like, they don't even come close to hitting the rim. Like, mine was just short. And I was able to go secure it, get the layup up and good. Like, if you airball it, there's a chance that thing goes away from you and that someone has to go grab it and you get knocked out. I was able to recover, lay it up and in.
We will see. And then last year's Fanatic champ is making an appearance, our own Tommy Alvord.
Yeah, I was at his place of his place of employment last night.
Oh, were you?
Got a couple pops, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, looking forward to seeing Tom.
Well, actually just one, but it was nice.
So looking forward to seeing Tom, and hopefully we'll see you if you win the tickets. So make sure you listen all day, every day until Wednesday. Well, you should listen all day, every day anyway. But you can listen until Wednesday to win your tickets. But we've been talking a lot different things today. Phillies, Eagles, some of the things of what we need to see from the Phillies, who needs to have the breakout seasons. And now we've turned our focus to some of the Eagles' positions of need. Now, Ray says safety is still a major position of need, and I agree with you. I think they're extremely light, and I think they signaled as such when they were in on the Justin Reed conversation. But there's another position of need that when you look at the team right now, you would say, okay, maybe not, because you have Dallas Goedert. But if they are, in fact, going to move on from Dallas Goedert, which appears to be the case because there's just too many people reporting it, tight end is light, man. I know they signed Harrison Bryant.
Yeah, there you go. That's your savior.
Yeah, Kylan Granson gets signed.
Boy.
But is Grant Calcaterra going to be your TE1?
No.
Going into the season? Look, when Goddard was down this year, Calcaterra did okay.
Mm-hmm. He's a nice second tight end.
I think you're going to have to draft somebody, right? They're going to have to draft a tight end this year?
Probably. I get, and that's the thing. Like, are you going to do it at 32? Like, are you really getting a day one tight end one anywhere outside of the first 2 rounds?
No, I think you're probably going to have to use one of your first 2 picks. This is where I always struggle with this question and this conversation. Is I'm a firm believer in best player available.
Right.
No matter the position. So I don't want to see you draft for need, but at the same time, I would think you're going to have to use one of your top 2 picks on a tight end, right?
Yeah, you do. Like, if you're not going out and getting another one, which I don't know where you're getting another one, I don't know what price you're paying for one. you probably have to use. I know what people were. Was Michael Meyer the name that everyone was
from
lusting after?
Notre Dame.
From what?
Yeah, he plays for the Raiders now. Yeah,
everyone
Michael
was
Mayer.
lusting after him for a little while there.
But even if you look, if they don't draft somebody, right, and they move on from Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra was drafted what year? 2022.
Oh, two.
So this is the final year of his contract. Harrison Bryant, you signed to a 1-year deal. Kylan Granson, you signed to a 1-year deal. I don't think E.J. Jenkins is the answer. He's another tight end you got on your roster. It just is like they have to start looking forward to not only this season, what they do at tight end, but to the future as well. And it's a position. See, I think maybe I'm biased because I played tight end. It's such an important position, especially on a team like the Philadelphia Eagles who run the ball so effectively. Your tight end has to have an ability to not only catch the ball out of in the passing game, you got to be able to run block.
And that's where you really feel like you're leaving something to be desired with Calcaterra.
Absolutely. Now, he got a little bit better at run blocking, but Sean, we've been all over the place today with the Phillies and the Eagles. What do we got on the text board? Read me some good texts.
All right, first up, we'll start with the safety conversation. We have a number of people checking in with the safety. One person says that they want to draft a safety, convert them to nickel, which is Nick Emanawari. Is his dream for the Eagles to draft. I believe he could take over DeJean's role. Then we can bounce DeJean outside and have Jackson play Rodgers' role. Then clean it up with Justin Simmons signing if we can clear some cap space.
Man, and that brings up a whole other topic about Cooper DeJean playing outside. I don't know if I want to see them move him outside, Ray.
I don't.
I mean, in today's NFL, the nickel corner is a starter now. And the way we've seen these offenses and how they move their wide receivers all over the place to try to get these mismatches, the nickel corner position is just as important, if not more important, than your outside corner. I don't want – you got a guy who can play it in Cooper DeJean. He's shown how effective he can be. I don't think you move him outside. You're with me on that.
No, not a chance. I'm not moving outside. It's a legitimate skill, legitimate talent to play that inside corner position. As you just laid out, like, you're going to have to find someone that plays 75% of the level that he does in that inside corner position. You're taking a position of need and trying to fill it with something you're not positive about, and in doing so, you're creating another position of need.
Exactly.
He's good on the inside. I'm fine with him being there. No need to push him outside. Find someone else who's done that before and put them there. Or find someone else you project that would be able to do it out there and have them do it there.
Yeah, so we're on the same page there. What else we got on the text board, Sean?
Another text for someone wants a linebacker not being drafted with not knowing when Nakobe Dean is coming back, and who knows if Trotter can step into that role. I trust we will draft a safety. Their bigger question is the linebacker, though.
Yeah, that was on my list as well. You look at that linebacker position, you got a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Zach Bond. Still can't believe that. I know we just watched him for an entire year. It's still crazy to think that the Eagles have a Defensive Player of the Year candidate at the linebacker position. And then you got an Offensive Player of the Year on offense at the running back position. It's pretty awesome to say. But yet next to Zach Bond, there's a lot of question marks. Is Nakobe Dean healthy? And even if he gets healthy, does Nakobe Dean stay healthy? Because we have not seen that in his 2 years as a starter. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., everything coming out of college was the kid had great instincts, but he's a little bit undersized. So you don't know what you have there. That's why I was so surprised they didn't bring back Aaron Burks. Your starter in the Super Bowl.
$5 million.
It was nothing to bring him back. So it either tells you that, A, they have a lot of confidence in Jeremiah Trotter Jr., or B, they're not worried about Nakobe Dean's injury history. But that's a good one. I mean, who was it that texted that? What was his name?
I didn't have a name on that one.
Well, the no-namer. That's a good one when you look at the linebacker position.
It is really interesting, though, like, to not bring back Burke. Like, what is that signal to you? That they believe in Jeremiah Trotter? Because if you don't match that price tag, it's got to be internal belief, either that you're going to be able to just fill that role, or that Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is actually going to do it.
Or they believe in Nakobe Dean
to be back.
Yeah, that they think he's going to be healthy next year.
But okay, I'm just
I would have brought back Aaron Burks.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at Howie Roseman over the years, there's still an opportunity for them to find an Aaron Burks type. Because when did they even sign Oren Burks? I mean, we don't remember it because it was kind of the under the radar move, similar to some of these. I'm looking at when they signed.
March 19th, 2024.
So
over a year ago, Bill.
No. I'm looking at how long after free agency started.
Hit the panic button.
So March 13th is when free agency started last year. They signed Oren Burks a week into it.
Oh. That's it. I'm terrified.
Yeah, maybe
cancel the season.
But look, they didn't get Mekhi Becton, who started on offense, until April 29th. So there's still an opportunity for them to add some talent to that position group. But it is. That's a good one from the texter because linebacker is one. There's a couple of other ones we can get into on the other side. We'll get to more of your text messages. But we want to hear from you. 610-632-0975. The Eagles' topic right now is what positions of need do you still think they have with the draft about a month away? And we're going to revisit our Phillies conversation as well that we started the show with. What Philly, player, manager, general manager, do you look at as this being a make or break season for? So we'll talk about both of those coming up next.
Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Vitalico, and Silvana Kelleher. The best show ever. Smart, intelligent conversation.
Coming down the home stretch here on this Friday afternoon.
I got a question for you.
Hold on, we got Baylor's up 45-39 on Mississippi State, now 47-39.
Only a 4-point game between Alabama and Robert Morris right now.
That would be
at the half.
That would be a massive upset. All right, what's your question, Ray?
So, I mentioned earlier that my birthday is a month away. Not that you need to get me anything, or not the listeners need to celebrate it. But do you think that they're going to retire the young Ray Dunn thing? Is 25 the part where we're like, all right, you're like when we said the daycare's over for the the Phillies guys, like it's time for you to grow up. Do you think we're going to retire the young Ray Dunn thing?
Well, the person who would be responsible for that would be our own Matt Monarch, and he's not happy with us right now.
No. So he might actually just take me off of all the promos in general.
He's very mad because I went in there and I was talking to him about the fact that when we did the longest tenured athletes, and we were reading the article that there was no Philadelphia Union. And he was like, it's ridiculous. It's a professional soccer team in the city. Like, he's a big Union guy.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get over there, though. When was the last time you were at a Union game, you said?
Last fall, I think. Was it last September? I'm trying to think when I went down there last. Because I was there later on in the season, and if I could find it. I have a very detailed calendar. I don't know if you know this about me.
All your sporting events?
Everything I do is, it might have been August. Everything I do is in this calendar. I can't live without it. I think you've realized how a little bit of a detail freak I am.
Yeah, you're a little OCD.
A little bit. I need to keep everything in line because I never know.
I haven't been down there in a while, and now that I got my brand new Philadelphia Union jersey, thanks to the Union, I'm going to have to wear it down.
You should let me know when you're going down.
I should probably bring the kids there. I think they would enjoy it.
Yeah, I was going to say just so I don't
go to the same game. Look.
I don't want us to match.
Oh, you're wearing a Union jersey. You're going to be 100 people there with Union jerseys. Thousands of people there.
Yeah, but you and I specifically, that'd be kind of weird.
The crazy thing is that's the only jersey I own right now. Is the one the Union gave to me yesterday.
Like across sports.
Yeah, I'm not a jersey guy.
You're weird for that. I don't want someone else's name on it. Yeah.
I've just never been a jersey guy. I don't know. Maybe when I was a little kid. But then I grew up. See, maybe you won't have the young Ray Dunn moniker when you stop wearing jerseys to games, right?
I'm going to go buy a Devontae Smith jersey at some point very soon.
Nah, that's a good buy.
Again, I've said it a number of times, but it's the only one that I feel like I can actually, the body kind of fits,
No, I like the Devontae Smith jersey. That's a good one. So we were talking about some of the positions this Philadelphia Eagles team still is light at, and I think Ray hit the nail on the head saying safety. We had a texter go with linebacker. I mentioned tight end. And there's another one too, Ray. And this one I think may be a little bit under discussed. In addition to the Eagles losing Mekhi Becton, they also lost Fred Johnson. Now, I know some people, Fred Johnson, he wasn't that important. Well, he was your swing tackle. So he was the guy who could come in. He could play either tackle position. You don't have him now either. I think the Eagles have to address the offensive line a little bit. And I'm not just talking about the starter at right guard. If you think Tyler Steen can step up and play that, great. You need depth, and you also have to start preparing. I know they just extended Lane Johnson. He's hopefully going to be here another 3 seasons, but I think they may have to address offensive line in the draft. They always like to draft linemen, but last year they didn't take a lineman until, the 5th round?
Yeah, I don't think so, yeah. 5th round sounds right. I don't know. This is one of those storylines like I'll steal your phrase again. So it's something about sitting in this chair. You're not wrong.
Maybe it is that chair.
But it's like, how many years in a row do I have to hear about Lane Johnson's eventual replacement? Or do I have to hear about, they like offensive linemen in the draft? I understand you're going to go with the best person available, and I do believe in that strategy when you're drafting. But there's so many more glaring things in a championship window. All right. They hit a home run in the fact that they replaced Jason Kelsey and Cam Jurgens ended up being really good for them. They had Stoutland U humming at the best it possibly could when they ended up moving Mailata and getting him at left tackle after replacing Jason Peters. You could not have done any better for yourself those 2 times. The likelihood of you hitting again, it's insane the way they've hit on these linemen. I would... again, if they draft an offensive lineman at 32 and it's going to be the eventual Lane Johnson replacement, and I'm going to end up saying, are they going to play him at right guard first? We'll end up having those conversations when they come down. If they do it, I'm not going to be livid. I'm not going to be upset about it. But I would prefer who they take early on in this draft to have a more immediate impact than let's sit back and watch Lane Johnson for the next 3 years.
You say that, though, Ray. You say immediate impact. You look at this season, this past season that just passed.
Right, and Fred Johnson started 6 games.
Exactly. You need to have some depth. There's no guarantee that all 5 of your linemen last an entire season. In fact, it's unlikely that all 5 will last an entire season. Landon Dickerson has missed time. Cam Jurgens is coming back from this back injury now. So you got to make sure that you have enough depth there, and it wouldn't hurt to also draft a guy that, yes, down the road could step in to be a starter. So I'm putting offensive line on the list. Yeah, and I said that they didn't draft a lineman until the 5th round last year. They took Trevor Keegan, was the first lineman they took out of Michigan, who started a lot of games at Michigan. So maybe he can step up. We'll see how all that goes. But really, you look at the last 2 drafts, Trevor Keegan and Dylan McMahon were taken last year. McMahon, I don't think he made the team. And then you got Tyler Steen in 2023, which maybe we'll learn this year what you have in Tyler Steen.
If you don't this year, then when?
If you don't draft this year, you're saying?
No, if you don't learn what Tyler Steen is this year, when are you going to learn?
You would think, look, if Tyler Steen doesn't win the starting job this year, maybe he never will.
No, I don't think he will if he doesn't win it this year. I mean, think about it. When he got drafted, it was like, all right, is it going to be Jurgens at right guard or is it going to be Steen? And then Jurgens becomes the center, and that's all right, it's going to be Steen at right guard. Oh, maybe it's Becton. Oh, it's definitely going to be Becton. If he comes into this season and has his job, and this job does not go to him for a 3rd consecutive year, that's it. That's curtains.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you end up with him as a starting.
In Stoutland, we trust.
Well,
if he thinks Steen's ready, then I agree.
That's where I was going to go with this. We're talking about drafting a lineman. At this point, if there's any position here, I just laid out them replacing Kelsey and Jason Peters, and the fact they've been able to replace at left guard, at right guard. If there's any position group you believe in, they're going to be able to find the right replacement, it's got to be on the offensive line. So maybe it's an inherent trust that I don't feel the urgency to replace as much because I think I just have such an inherent trust in what they've got going on there.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what that Trevor Keegan does with another year at Stoutland U because I liked him coming out of Michigan. Sean, one more text. What do we got? Give us one more text.
All right. Another position in need is the tight end. I feel like they need to draft the tight end, especially because of Goddard potentially leaving. If we're going to go back to the Phillies conversation, too, we have Dawood in the Northeast. He says on the faith meter for the 3 players playing at the highest peak this season, he ranks them in order. He puts a Bohm, Stott, then Turner.
Bohm, Stott, and then Turner in terms of who he believes in the most?
That would be on his own faith meter, correct, it sounds like. Where does your faith lie in the 3? That's between those 3 specifically.
Oh, man, I think I would... Ray, I may put Turner at the top. Like,
yeah,
I
the
think,
3 of them? Yeah.
I think Turner...
One's got a track record.
Yeah, I think Turner has shown he can do it. I would probably go Turner, Stott, Bohm. Almost the complete opposite order.
Turner, Bohm, Stott, probably.
Yeah, it's interesting. That is interesting. All right, look, before we get out of here, there was something I wanted to talk to you about that you put on the show sheet a couple times this week that we never got to. But with the NFL owners meetings coming up, there's been a lot of rule proposals for potential changes. One of them is to ban the tush push. We all know. We've heard it. The other one is from the Detroit Lions to change defensive holding and illegal contact to no longer being an automatic first down. There's a proposal to change the overtime rule, to change the playoff seeding. So my question to you, Ray, if you were commissioner of the world and you could change one rule in any sport, yeah, not any, just in life, no.
What rule? Commissioner of the world.
What rule would you change? Because there's one that I would change in a heartbeat that I've wanted to change forever. But let me hear yours first.
I guarantee you by the time I come in here on Monday, I know it's funny, I put this on the sheet and I still don't really have a good one in my head. I want the shot clock buzzer when the play clock gets down to 0. I hate the whole, and it's people reacting online. It's also you watching at home like, 0, 0, 0. But yes, the official has to notice that it's at 0, then throw the flag.
There's a second delay.
Oh, it's at 0. That's a delay of game. Give me the shot clock buzzer. The flag then comes out once you hear the buzzer, and we don't have to worry about it. All right?
That's actually a pretty good one.
Yeah, let's just play the game with the 40 seconds. I don't want look, now it's at 0. I got to trust these guys with, I don't know what kind of eyes they got, but I got to trust them looking all the way across the field, noticing, hey, wait a second, that's at 0. Where's my flag again? Oh, here we go. Throw it up in the air. It's a waste of a process here. Just give me a buzzer. We all know what happened. Then that's delay a game.
That dude, you may have nailed it right there.
I probably didn't. I mean, that's pretty dumb.
I've never heard anyone suggest that, and maybe I've just missed it.
Yeah, you've definitely missed it. I don't think I'm that original. I'm sure.
I've never heard anyone call for the buzzer when the 40-second clock in the play clock. Man, I think that's a good one. That may be better than mine.
Well, probably, but that's not exactly a bar that I was.
So the rule that I have hated forever, and anyone that's listened to me in the past probably knows where I'm going with this. The fact that if you fumble the football out of the end zone offensively, it's a touchback for the other team. I can't stand that rule. It's like if you fumble the ball on the 1 yard line and it goes out of bounds, it's your ball at the 1. But if it goes another inch into the end zone, it's the other team's ball at the 20. Doesn't make any sense to me. I still don't understand why it's a touchback for the other team if you fumble the ball out of the end zone. I hate the rule. Think it should be changed. You agree with me on that, or you like that rule?
I'm fine with it. It makes no sense. But
it doesn't make sense to me.
It's a game of inches, man. Just hold on to the football.
Anyway, Ray, I had a lot of fun with you today, man.
Yeah, it's
had a
pretty
lot
cool.
of fun. We got some compliments in the chat that we put on a great show, so we appreciate everybody who stayed with us today. Hopefully, Mikey Miss will be back on Monday. Ray will go back behind the glass. That means no Sean Rodman. But if you want, not that that's
Thanks,
a good
Sean.
thing, Sean.
Love you, Sean. That was a really nice way. Hey, good job producing the show today. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I didn't mean it that way, Sean. Great job today.
Yeah.
And if you want more of Ray or more of me, I'm hosting Sunday, 11 to 2, and then coming up right behind me on Sunday is Ray from 2 to 5.
Come on, man. Seriously?
So you get Bill and Ray for 6 hours on Sunday afternoon.
Just what the people want.
But until we talk on Sunday, everybody have a great weekend. Big thank you to Sean. Big thank you to Ray. And thank you to all of you for listening. We'll talk soon. Have a good weekend.
Flyers Jeff McClain. And the Phillies will head to D.C. to start the season, take on the Nationals next Thursday. The Sixers are back in action in San Antonio. It will mark the team's 4th game on the 6-game road trip. You'll be able to listen